Scott in the days ahead. May your Holy Spirit bless each one. And now, God, we ask your blessing upon this race. Be with each driver, course worker, and crew member, and help us to remember, Lord, that all good things come from you. Amen.
Here to honor America, please welcome American rock vocalist and songwriter, original lead singer of the band Foreigner, and Rochester, New York native, Lou Gramm, as he performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
As we prepare for the start of the race, we echo Reverend David Fife, our thoughts with the family of Harry Scott Jr. and our prayers. Lee Diffie leads the team today in Watkins Glen. They'll have the call when we return. We will see you after the race.
Watkins Glen. Everybody ready, set, go. Rev it up and let's roll. There's a party in the fast lane. riding in on a stampede of lightning. I'm bringing back the sunshine. Bringing back the sunshine. Baby, it's about time. Bring it back.
It's NASCAR on NBCSN as we welcome you to NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Watkins Glen in upstate New York. It's the I Love New York 355 at the Glen, the second and final road course race of the year. We get things going by heading to pit road, and here's Dave Burns.
Just out of the playoff picture, Clint Boyer has a chance to race his way in today, but he'll have to do it from the back of the pack after a brake change after qualifying. He starts at the rear. Kelly?
Qualifying also didn't go well for Sonoma winner Kevin Harvick, but don't be deceived. Rodney Childers tells me they have a great race car. Look for him to make moves early in this one. Marty?
Kelly, time is running out for Joey Logano and his race team. 5 weeks left in the regular season, 5 chances to get to victory lane and put themselves in the playoffs. They said coming in here, we feel like Watkins Glen might be our best shot, but they made several changes to the 22 car this morning to make it better. Time for the command.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, President and Chief Executive Officer for the New York State Department of Economic Development, Howard Zimsky.
The Empire State rocks it. I Love New York brings it. NASCAR Nation, let's do it. Drivers, start your engines!
Brandon, you got me on 2? Yeah, 10-4 wheels. 2 fuel here. You got me on 2?
If you think that there's an air of excitement here at the Glen today, you would be correct. Hi folks, Lee Diffie along with our crew chief Steve Letarte, because for the 3rd year in a row, Steve, the grandstands and the camping areas here at Watkins Glen have been sold out. This is tremendous. This is a wonderful illustration of the support of the Monster Energy Cup Series racing here at the Glen on a road course. And nobody put it better than Clint Boyer earlier today when he said, if you can't get pumped up to race in front of a standing room only crowd, you're not human.
Well, and Clint Boyer is right. The atmosphere is electric, and that electric atmosphere will carry over on the racetrack. As a competitor, it was always more fun, always more exciting to perform in front of a full house.
Speaking of performing, only 5 races remain until the playoffs. And Steve, that means it puts the spotlight on some specific drivers.
Well, I think it's to keep it simple. Elliott, McMurray, Kenseth, Boyer, they're looking at points. Points are probably their best avenue, while a win would be great. Look at Joey Logano at minus 69. I think as a win is a must. It's what his only pass to the playoff looked like. You heard Marty Snyder say it. This is the track of the final 5 that he feels he has the best chance to win at.
Hey folks, do you feel like something new? Well, we've got it for you this weekend with our multi-vantage point coverage. We have got some people located in very specific points around the track. We start with MRN's and SiriusXM Satellite Radio's Mike Bagley. Mike is in the ESSES. Parker Kligerman is a little further around at the Carousel, and Jeff Burton, the final 2 turns at 6 and 7. But we get things going by saying hello and welcome to the Bagman.
Lee, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you and the NBC family this weekend on a racetrack that's very fast, and at times a racetrack that is very unforgiving. The S's make up turns 2, 3, and 4. Turn 2 can be very treacherous. Kyle Busch can write you volumes on that. Racing for the win. Brad Keselowski and Kyle make contact. That's a very treacherous corner. Then you have the uphill climb to turn 3. That's a blind corner right there. If somebody gets crossed up in front of you, more times than not, you're going piling in. Casey Kane breaking loose. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and others all crashing and colliding. Minimal escape routes for those drivers. If you make it through that portion of the racetrack, it's then turn 4. A gentle right-hand bend that sets you up for a run down the back straightaway, and a very complex set of corners that will be watched by Parker Kligerman.
That's right, Bagman. They'll come at me at over 180 miles per hour, where then they'll go curb hopping through the inner loop, which is also known as the bus stop. It's also the best passing zone on the racetrack. You'll see them attempt to go too wide on the entry, but that doesn't always work. You might get a little wrong like Jeff Gordon did there, getting the back of Austin Dillon. You'll see 4 tires off the ground like Kyle Larson right there as they enter the bus stop, and then sometimes they'll get in the grass. That will make the track very slick for the cars that are coming after them as they go through one of the craziest corner complexes here, then through the carousel and exit towards you, Jeff.
Yeah, that exit is a cause of concern. Every race here, people have problems in that exit because it's such a fast part of the racetrack. You have to be digging at that part of the racetrack to make lap time. So we can see in the past race here, Ryan Newman loses control, makes contact with the inside wall, shoots him right out in front of incoming traffic. Major impacts. You can see right there the 95 car almost over the wall. These are incidences because of the speed involved in this corner. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. jumps the curb in the throttle, just loses it. Once again, makes contact with that inside wall right out in front of the incoming traffic again. You want to be carrying speed off that corner, but too much speed gets you in trouble, and that trouble causes trouble for other cars following behind you.
It's the 32nd year in succession of NASCAR racing at the Glen. There's been phenomenal races, wins, and action, and we're going to see more of it when we come back.
There's no race car driver out there that is nice and sweet and polite all the time and can get the job done at the same time.
Tonight he earns his first Cup title.
Bring it home, champ. Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Certainly there's probably guys that are nice and polite and yet they're not winning. When I get to the racetrack, that's my job. I want to do the best that I can at my job. We've certainly had our challenges.
Kyle Busch slides and does the 78. They both go up into the wall through turn 1.
We lost it. Correct him.
Here comes the 18. Kyle Busch is going to win at Pocono.
KB, you're the man. Momentum the build, brother. Momentum the build.
We're right on target. We're right on path to where we need to be and get back to that championship season.
As we get ready to go racing here at Watkins Glen, the grid at the bottom of your screen. As you enjoy that and look for your favourite driver, it'll roll through. Meanwhile, Steve Letart's going to dial up the driver of the 47, AJ Allmendinger, who knows how to get to victory lane here, Stevie.
Hey, AJ, Steve Letart in the NBCSN booth. You got a copy, buddy?
I got you, man.
Well, AJ, we heard from you in the pre-race that your car and your team had a lot of changes overnight. You seem optimistic after making the second round of qualifying. You won here in 14. You know a lot about this racetrack. What's it going to take to get that second win here at the Glen today?
Just no mistakes, really. You know, our team, all my guys on this Kroger, Click This Chevy, they've worked their butts off. Yesterday was probably one of the toughest days we've had, especially at a road course. And we worked hard overnight, got the car more competitive. Obviously, the 18, 78, 42, those types of cars, they got a lot of speed in it. So we're going to have to be picture perfect and make no mistakes, give ourselves a shot at this at the end.
Well, I think that's a great approach for the big picture. Let's talk about this racetrack, though. I've worked with many drivers that have had differencing of opinions. What, in your mind, is the most important corner or sets of corners for success here at the Glen?
Well, I mean, when it comes to speed, they're all pretty important, but really for the race, if you can get off the last corner there and give yourself a good run into turn one, that's where most of the passing happens. But after this repave and with these tires, it's really slick. If you make a mistake and get off line, it can really cost you. So really just trying to stay on the racetrack, not making mistakes. But if you get off the last corner, you can really set yourself up for some good passes, or even better, defend from the passes. So we'll see here.
Well, AJ, we appreciate you taking the time. I know the fans appreciate you taking the time. We'll be riding along. Good luck today.
Thank you, guys.
And AJ is going to give us this view of him shifting, which they do plenty of times, as we're going to walk you through the various in-car and onboard cameras that we have for you. And Armandinger's 47 view is brought to us by Kroger ClickList, so we look forward to that.
Yeah, that's a great view. And we talk about great views and creative views. The Busch onboard camera of Kevin Harvick has this. We'll show how busy a driver's feet are to make good laps around Watkins Glen.
With thanks to Toyota, Matt Kenseth brings us this awesome view. And we will show you this throughout today's 90-lap race, which really enhances the speed around this 2.5-mile Watkins Glen road course. It is fantastic. We showed it to you in the practice broadcast. Let's do it again today for real in the race.
And how about Joey Logano? We talked about him, where he is in his playoffs and his attacking Watkins Glen today. Well, we'll be able to ride along with the Ford Performance onboard camera.
And we say thanks to Credit One Bank. The 42 of Kyle Larson has this view. And it's a pretty good one too, because it's on the front row. Now there's another shot we are very proud to show you. Look at the infield, the camping area, the grandstands. This place is packed, and we get this view, this aerial coverage. It's provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. We say thanks there. Look at that. Isn't that a sight?
It's unreal. Packed house, full of excitement.
So while we got time before the start, let's take a look at today's Ram Guts and Glory.
Well, we talk about this facility, this road course, how iconic, but how fast, how sweeping, and it all starts in turn one. The first major passing zone going downhill, trying to get slowed down, making turn one, then that short shoot across to turn two, and the climb up the hill known as the ESSES, the complex of turns 2, turns 3, and the right-hander turn 4 leads you down the long back straightaway and the heavy braking zone of the bus stop.
The heavy braking zone, Steve, and you can see how tight it is through that inner loop. We're going to see people trying to pass there. It's very tight. And that leads to turn 5, the carousel. This corner lasts forever. It's a long right-hander downhill while you're turning. And, of course, the chute on the back straightaway where we saw that highlights of all those wrecks. That leads to this left-hander, turn 6, a 90-degree corner. You have to accelerate hard, then work yourself back to the left side of the racetrack to set up for turn 7, which leads you to the start-finish line. And if you get all of that right, Steve, then things come together. But when they come together, often we see cars come together. So you see right here, the 18 car of Kyle Busch getting spun around by the 2 cars beginning of those S's. That allows Ambrose to catch him and put a late race charge on.
2012 victor Marcus Ambrose, one of 2 Cup wins here and 4 Xfinity Series wins. Now, as you know, stage racing new in NASCAR competition in 2017. What are the stages like today, Steve? How long are we going for?
Well, when we look at the race breakdown, it's a 90-lap race, a little over 220 miles. But as you mentioned, 3 stages. The first 2 stages, short little sprints of 20 laps. But that final stage, extra long at 50 laps. Pit window, 32 to 35 laps. And I can tell you, there will be multiple approaches on how pit strategy is going to work today. There's going to be a lot of chaos on the racetrack, even some chaos on pit road. When to pit, there'll be a lot of approaches. We'll try to keep you covered all day.
And we saw that yesterday in the Xfinity Series race, didn't we? Some decided to stay out, like Daniel Hemrick, try and stretch it as long as you can. Maybe stay out there and try and grab a stage win. Others coming in. The general consensus is they'll stretch it long in the first stage, but not quite to that end.
Well, the whole idea is, do you think tires matter? I think all of these cars can make the race on 2 stops, but if you're one of the cars that went to the rear, Denny Hamlin, Clint Bowyer, Gary Clute, Paul Menard, Ryan Newman, I mean, the list goes on. Poor Boris said, you're going to have to be aggressive, and sometimes aggressive isn't only stopping twice. If that's what the leaders are going to do, you might have to stop 3 times.
I know many of you have heard of the Goodwood Festival of Speed in the UK. This is Watkins Glen Festival of NASCAR. It has been an unreal weekend, and this is the icing on the cake right now, ready to do 90 laps around the famous Watkins Glen road course, final road course event of 2017. This is the I Love New York 355 at the Glen, and it's time to bring the action. The 24 of Chase Elliott positioning there. Daniel Suarez on the inside. Kyle Larson doesn't fight Kyle Busch for that top spot into turn 1. And they stretch their legs, Bagman, towards you.
And Kyle Busch does exactly that, Lee. He'll stretch his legs and extend them to a 2.5 or a 3-car length lead. It's the other Kyle. Larson to second. Truex to third, with Chase Elliott fourth and Aaron Jones rounding out the top 5 as they set up for the first run into the bus stop.
The hardest braking zone, Bagley. They smashed the brakes. A lot of teams worried about those brakes after overheating them in qualifying. Kyle Busch continues to get ahead of the field as you see a lot of cars getting single file from being 2x2 as they enter the carousel. And here you have to be single file. If you were 2x2 here, you'd be losing a ton of time as they exit off the carousel towards you, Jeff.
And you see Kyle Busch, he's only extended that lead. Going to make this left-hander into turn 6. Jamie McMurray taking a peek at A.J. Allmendinger. Nothing happened. A.J. Allmendinger's got to protect this inside line. Everybody's still single file right now, back.
Jeff, a relatively subdued opening lap, but don't expect it to stay like that for too much longer. Kyle Busch leads Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., then Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Daniel Suarez looks to the inside there in the 19. Oh, and contact was there between McMurray and Allmendinger. AJ runs wide.
Allmendinger trying to regroup, get back out on the race course. He is going to lose a lot of positions, but he's back up to the gearbox and back up the hill to turn number 3. Dinger under fire. Kurt Busch lined up in the back door. Ryan Blaney and AJ's teammate Chris Buescher all lined up there as they clear turn number 4. And here's Busch to the inside, looking for that inside run into the inner loop.
It's not surprising to see AJ struggling with that race car. He's been struggling with it all weekend. They have constantly been changing the setup as they go to the inner loop and into the carousel and just not being able to find the balance he wanted in that race car. Just the 2-car there, Brad Keselowski using all the exit off the carousel, Jeff.
They use all that exit, that momentum off of that corner is so important. You can see everybody right here in turn 6, heavy braking, nobody poking out of line, everybody content right now to stay in line. If you don't get a big run off that carousel, you can't make a pass. Tight corner, coming to the start-finish line.
So the question is, was there contact from behind from the 1, or was it self-induced? Was it wheel hop, Steve?
It looks to me like it is wheel hop. You see the back of the car already dancing around. Really an amazing save by A.J. Allmendinger. This is the type of thing that we normally see a car spin out, but A.J. caught it. Listen on.
Out of line half, right half.
You heard right there the oscillation of the rear tires and the engine. That basically is wheel hop on that downhill decel into turn 1.
Yeah, very fortunate there that Daniel Suarez was to his right because he couldn't have slowed that car down. Had Daniel not been to the right, he would have run right into the back of him. So very fortunate break right there.
We're on board here with Joe Logano, the Ford Performance on board, going through the exit, the inner loop into the carousel right here. And this is where you want to try and get a run on that car in front of like Daniel Suarez. You're going to try and get in the throttle just a little bit sooner to hopefully get the run on the exit here out of the carousel as he keeps it a little tighter than Suarez, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a little bit tighter. And again, it just seems like all these cars, no one has an advantage in that carousel. And without that advantage, you can't set up for turn 6. And that makes it hard to set up for turn 7. So passing on a road course is all about setting up the corner before the braking zone. And right now, no one seems to have an advantage in that carousel.
What a good, solid, strong opening run from the 77 of Eric Jones. Sits fifth. Here comes Jamie McMurray having a look at Brad Keselowski. Couldn't quite get it done in one. Suarez has made a positive start as well. Meanwhile, at the front, Kyle Busch boasts a 1.5 second lead.
Watching the leaders coming up to the ESSES lead. We mentioned Brad Keselowski running in sixth. Jamie McMurray much stronger than he is at this moment, waiting for that opportunity to make a pass. But if either one of those drivers slips, Daniel Suarez, Logano, and Jimmy Johnson all lined up there to capitalize.
That's for sure, and a lot of teams suspected that 2 car was going to be good here, but I don't think a lot of teams were suspecting that 19 or 77 to be up at the front. Those two have surprised a lot of the field, being inexperienced at this racetrack in the Cup Series, but having so much speed right now as you see Eric Jones hanging on to 5th place.
Oh, battle for 2nd place. Martin Truex Jr. able to get underneath Kyle Larson in turn 6. And look who's behind them, a guy that has made huge improvements in his road course ability. Chase Elliott running a solid 4th.
And as we complete the 3rd lap, complete the 4th lap, we're starting to get into that territory. A lot of cars in practice only run 4 or 5 laps at a time. How will these cars change? How will the handling characteristics shift as we get it longer into the run?
Watching the battle for 5th coming into turn 2. It's Eric Jones, it's Brad Keselowski, and Jamie McMurray. They're slowly starting to distance themselves from Daniel Suarez and Jamie McMurray. Eric Jones in that Toyota Power streaking up the back straightaway as Joey Logano is trying desperately to get up there and take many of those spots away.
That's right, but he's struggling a little bit. That race car says it's pretty loose at this time. But right now we see a battle for 3rd place. Chase Elliott hot on the heels of Kyle Larson right here. And you just see Larson a little bit higher there in the carousel as Chase Elliott gets a little loose. That's because his car isn't handling as he wants right now.
Yeah, Chase Elliott's obviously putting a lot of pressure on the 42 car. The deal here for Chase Elliott is don't push too hard. You still have limited experience on the road course. You tend to try to outbrake at the wrong time. So apply that pressure, try to make that pass at the appropriate time.
Elliott runs where he started. That is in 4th place. He was a top 10 finisher at the season's first road course in Sonoma, California. It's a strong start, and it needs to be strong for Chase. Also, Jamie McMurray. These are the guys on the bubble. After today, only 4 races left until the playoffs. You're watching Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Watkins Glen International. Beautiful day, mid-70s. Perfect to go racing. Want to remind you about NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion. Now available on your mobile device. You can select your favorite camera angle or driver with in-car video. You can even watch multiple angles at once. Never miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com/drive from your PC, tablet or mobile device. There's your leader for Joe Gibbs Racing, the 18 of Kyle Busch. Remember last time I gave you a time check, Dave, it was 1.5 seconds. It's now 3.5 seconds out in front.
Hey guys, one driver who didn't get to make a lap today is the 6 of Trevor Bayne in the garage area now. They've been replacing the braking system on that race car. Talking about brakes all day, may be boring, but they need them to get into these corners. So on the pace laps, they tried to fix it, realized they couldn't do it, and came in before the green flag. A caliper seal was leaking, and I believe it was on the left front.
And you know, basically, Lee, that is so disappointing because you've been here for 2 days, you've qualified, you've tried to prepare the best car possible, but when you have a brake leak, any sort of fluid, that's a hydraulic system, the fluid has to stay in, any sort of leak, and basically the pedal just goes to the floor, and we see how fast these cars are entering the corner. If you step on that brake pedal, you have to have confidence, and confidence in every corner. So any sort of leak, Jeff, basically eliminates your confidence in the system.
Yeah, Steve, I'm amazed at the amount of brake problems that we've had already today. Really, you know, a few qualifying laps, and then, you know, amazing to me that much brake problem. So I don't know if there's some new parts, or with this low downforce package, it's just putting that much more need of brakes, and it's making it, heating stuff up and damaging parts, but an incredible amount of brake failure. The race hadn't even started.
Time to do some eavesdropping. We're going to listen to some spotter communication for the 77. Have a listen.
Smokes him up to the top of the S's. Runs really good. You can tell where he starts down here. He gets up a little getting in, but he makes it all up on in the throttle. 5 back, man. Just keep focusing on all the stuff where you need to. You're all good. Good job, man. Hit your mark.
Steve, this is an impressive run from Eric Jones, and that was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less. Eric is worrying a little bit less because he did a driving school here a couple of weeks ago just to try and enhance his road racing capabilities even more. Big deal today. Chris Gale, his regular crew chief, has been suspended for 3 races. There was an infraction in Pocono, and he has got James Small has stepped up to the crew chief role, so there's been a lot of changes, and all that added to coming into a road course race.
Yeah, and that was great information from his spotter. Where is he good? And hey, 5 back. Basically, you don't need to look in your mirror, focus ahead, hit your marks, but here he's going to be under pressure from Brad Keselowski into turn 1.
There it is. The 2's looking on the inside. It's all very gentlemanly at the moment. It's a corner where you can lose so much, but Brad, and he's not going to get it. Looked like he may have had the run down to 2 towards you, Mike.
Eric Jones with that strong run from the outside. Saw Brad do that a few moments ago on Jamie McMurray, and as they crest the top of the hill, turn 3, and head to turn 4, Eric Jones very impressive here in the early going, able to keep a great road racer like Brad Keselowski in his rearview mirror, at least for now.
That is right, Bagman, but he may be better than the 2 car in your section. Oh, as you see the 2 car make a bit of a mistake there and end up in the grass. I was going to say he hasn't been as good as the 2 car there in the inner loop, but it looks like Brad has made a big mistake, and he's able to gain a lot of distance on him as Brad falls into the clutches of Jay McMurray as they come off the carousel.
That's a great example of how when you lose momentum, they just run you down and the guy in front of you drives away from you. A small mistake, not a huge mistake from Brad Keselowski. It wasn't like he was running off course. He just didn't hit the inner loop cleanly, and it cost him about 4 car lengths that allowed Jamie McMurray to catch up.
Into the second half of the opening stage. Hey, does this sound familiar? The 18 and the 78 are the strongest 2 cars. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Monster Energy. Unleash the beast. Ford, we go further so you can. Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR. And by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. 6.5 laps left, not even that, until the end of stage 2 here at Watkins Glen. Let's see who is on the move, brought to you by Tire Rack. And Steve, it's very important to be on the move for Clint Boyer.
Absolutely. We discussed his situation in the playoff standings at the top of the day. He needs to have a good race, continue to gain those points, and having to go to the rear because of that brake issue in qualifying. Very important to have a great start, and that's what he's done so far.
So, coming close to the end of stage 1, this initial 20-lap run. And again, the stages today go 20 laps, and then 50 laps to finish in stage 3. Where do you see, and from the crew chiefs you've spoken to, how's this going to work out strategically?
So while I think it's easy for everyone to assume you just run to the end of stage 1, lap 20, stop and get tires and fuel, these crew chiefs, very creative, very smart. They're going to try to pit earlier than that. I wouldn't be shocked to see cars starting to hit pit road here in the last 5 laps of the stage. They're on a road trip, and they need to stop 2 times for fuel. They're just picking the best time to stop. The idea is to pit early in case a caution comes out. You could gain some track position. So it's going to be chaotic, and I think it's getting ready to start in the next 5 laps.
Hey, Parker, no caution came out for Boris Said. Boris is making his final Cup Series race in what has been a very long and successful career, but this is what just happened to him.
Right, really, he just overcooked the entry there to the inner loop, got the tires locked, and ends up going off the racetrack. And we think about what in his last start, he actually destroyed the primary car in that same corner, and this team was really disappointed in that because his backup car, they felt, was just not as good, as you see him come through the grass at a far slower pace than he did yesterday, keeping that race car intact.
After 31 years, Boris and his set head fans, they're calling it quits. So we wish him well. It's been a terrific career.
You think the fan? I mean, I wonder if we're still going to see the set head wings, even though he's not on the track.
Maybe they might go and visit him at his BMW of Murrieta car dealership. We'll see. We wish him well. But again, hey, Mike, the 77's holding the 2 at bay. This is a great run from Eric Jones.
Battle for 5th, Lee, and you're absolutely correct. Jones has been able to keep Keselowski in the rearview mirror, but Keselowski's trying to make the move. The problem is Jones is just a tad quicker than he is. And Parker, as they head to the inner loop, Jones is doing a fantastic job through there.
He is doing an excellent job through here, although I'd say the 2 cars just a little bit better as you see him get right on the tail of Eric Jones. I'm not surprised to see Eric running so well. He told me that he felt very comfortable in this Cup car as opposed to the Xfinity car he drove yesterday. He's been loving the higher horsepower of that 77, Jeff.
Yeah, he's doing a great job of holding Keselowski off, and as a young driver without a lot of road course experience, it starts creeping in the back of your head. Should I let Keselowski go and try to learn a little bit, try to find out where Keselowski's just a little bit faster, or keep charging, trying to keep him by? As you see Keselowski making a really bold move in turn 7.
And this has been a great stabilization from Brad Keselowski, because it was only a matter of laps ago that the one of Jamie McMurray got past the Team Penske Ford. And then Brad stabilized, was able to turn it around, get going again.
He did, and Eric Jones continues his smart, relaxed state behind the wheel. He ran 8th yesterday. He's looking like a veteran even as a young rookie driver.
What an awesome onboard with Matt Kenseth as he hops the first portion of the inner loop. He's going to go across the exit curbs here, and now he enters into the carousel. The cars get very loose right there, and then you try to hold right on that yellow line, right on the curb, as you increase the gas right off here, all the way over to the exit curb, and the runoff shooting towards you, Jeff. 70. We've got trouble here, guys. I think the 77 actually had an issue in the bus stop. Yep, there he is, just overcooked it. He's going to come to the center portion there, come to a complete stop. You have to do this, mandatory for NASCAR, to come to a complete stop and then get going again and rejoin traffic in a safe manner, as you'll see him do here. It's an unfortunate mistake for Eric Jones. Kelly.
That's Daniel Suarez in the 19 car coming down pit road. This is a team that knows their shot at making the playoffs on points is over. So they brought him in, maybe a strategy call. Daniel saying that he's just losing grip, Dave.
Pushing loose off on throttle was the complaint for Matt Kenseth, running 10th. He'll get 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel.
And Dave, here's these guys giving up points in stage 1, trying to get some points in stage 2. Among those, Ryan Blaney. You see the drag race between Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson. Ryan Blaney here on pit road, going to be 4 tires, that he's lacking forward bite off the turns and air pressure adjustment in the rear tires, trying to make it a little more stable for him. We'll see if this strategy pays off for everyone down the road a little bit, if you will.
And when Marty says, how's this pay off down the road a little bit, that's going to be the interesting thing when we get deep into stage 2. What a shame for the 77 of Eric Jones after that really successful opening run to blow the inner loop like that. Let's see how he regroups. And problems for Dale Earnhardt Jr. we're hearing. It has been a tough weekend. Dale commented himself what worked.
Some idea what to do in here. Okay. Okay, if you can hit the diagnostics page front, hit it once.
Sounds like that was Greg Ives giving Dale Jr. some instructions on that digital dash. There is a diagnostics page. It will break down some of the engine outputs, whether that's fuel mix or engine temperature or exhaust. There's a lot of different things they need to go through, but one thing to break it down on an oval with some long straightaways, much more complicated here at Watkins Glen. The driver is much busier, and sometimes you have a hard time communicating with the driver when he's all the way on the backstretch.
Steve, he just came by me in the turn 6 location, and that engine is not running clean at all. He is either down a cylinder or has an electrical issue. There is certainly something wrong. You could hear it when he came by me in turn 6.
The good news, Lee, 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go to the end of stage 1, closing in now. 1 lap to go when the leader gets to the line, so they only has to nurse this to the finish of stage 1.
Here comes Kyle Busch. Through turn 2, up the hill to turn 3, and he has been flawless so far. He's been blowing them all out of the water at this early portion of this race, and he's not really had to force the car. Right now, though, he's in his own zone as he is headed to the zone where Parker Clickerman is located.
Right back, man. He has been putting a beating on the rest of the field as he comes to the inner loop, absolutely destroying the curve, just hopping directly over them. And it's actually something he's been doing throughout this weekend, whether it's in the Cup car or the Xfinity car. He has been the chatter of the garage for what he's been able to do in the inner loop and how fast he's been and how much faster he's been in the rest of the field, Jeff.
And Parker, you have to wonder, after last week's win at Pocono, does this team have momentum? We've seen them not be able to close victories off. They've had the speed, but after getting that victory, is that going to move them forward to just lay a lot of victories between now and the end of the year?
Coming to the end of stage 1. And that is stage win number 9 in this season for the 18 of Kyle Busch. And Jeff Burton mentioned momentum, Steve. Last weekend's Cup win, even though he broke a 36-race winless streak, the win there, the win yesterday, which was dominant. It was a spin and win, and he fought his way back through the field. Now he wins the opening stage of this race. I think there's big momentum there.
Well, it's 10 points, but how about right there in the green? You see it. 1 playoff point, and he took it away from the 78. If he doesn't get it, he'll carry that on through the playoffs.
Back to talk about stage 2 when we come back to the Glen. Would you like breaking news, race highlights, updated standings and more delivered to your inbox every week? Never miss a story or race highlight by subscribing to the official NASCAR newsletter. Visit nascar.com/newsletter to sign up today. So we welcome you back to the I Love New York 355 here at the Glen. Lee Diffie, Steve Letarte with you, and we're going to take advantage of this end of stage 1, getting ready for stage 2, to listen to some spotter communication with the two. Have a listen.
Tina, update. I know you're busy. Too busy. I figured as much. If I were going to critique it, I'd love to be able to get between 6 and 7 better on a lower lane, exiting 7 specifically, and we don't carry that momentum off of 1 as well. But that's all I can see.
That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less. What did you make of that, Steve?
Well, that is a wonderful job by spotter Joey Meyer, trying to get some information out of his driver to get to Paul Wolfe. Pit stops are coming. What do you need for adjustments? And you heard it on Brad Keselowski's voice there. Too busy, buddy. I can't tell you what it's doing. So then Joey kind of let him know from the roof what it looks like. Yep. So we heard about, Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to diagnose the engine. Well, Brad Keselowski didn't even have time to let him know whether the car was loose or tight. A lot of corners to break down here.
And here we go. Pit road is about to be frantic. Let's kick things off with Kelly Stavas. Kel?
And Martin Truex Jr. in the 78 pitting from the second position. This is a pit crew that's only been intact for just 1 week. This will be their second race together. Martin Truex Jr. just saying that he needs more grip in the 78. You see it's going to be a 4-tire change, Marty.
After Brad Keselowski finished being busy, he finally did tell Paul Wolfe, he said, hey, when I'm by myself, I wanted a clean lap to see how the car was. The car is too free. That's the call for Brad Keselowski. Front of pit road, Kyle Busch, very happy with the car. He said he's really good in the left-hand corners. He's too tight and loose on the exit of the right-hand corners. He wants the rear of the car to last a little bit longer. Kyle Busch does win that race off pit road, but Lee, we had a few who decided to stay out.
We're going to talk about that in just a moment. The race off pit road brought to you by NASCAR Heat 2 video game. And you see the jumpers there. Austin Dillon, nice stop. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Coors Light. Whatever your mountain, climb on. And by Polaris Razor. Fuel your freedom. As we welcome you back to the Glen, big news involving the 18, the car that dominated the first stage.
Lee, he did get a win in stage 1, but Kyle Busch back on pit road. He said he felt like he had a left front wheel that was loose, and they had a long radio conversation about it. Adam Stevens said, well, if you're positive, come back down pit road. They wanted to make sure that nothing was perhaps, Steve, stuck behind the wheel, that could have been the issue. But here's a radio conversation with Kyle Busch and Adam Stevens.
Coming back to you, loose wheel. Let me check with these guys here, pal. I'm 1,000% confident. You know which one? Yep, left front.
And remember, yesterday, Kyle Busch had to go to the back of the field after he spun by himself in the Xfinity Series race, came back up through the field, was able to win the race. So they're hoping for a little more magic like that this afternoon, as Adam Stevens is telling them right now, we'll take our lumps. We have a fast car. We can do this.
Lee, that's what you have to do. You never want to have problems, but if you're going to have them, earlier the better.
Sure.
Still a lot of racing ahead for the 18.
It was lap 17 of yesterday's 82-lap race in the Xfinity Series when Kyle spun from the lead, an unforced error.
There was a lug nut stuck between the caliper and the wheel there.
So now the concern is just to make sure what he basically means. That was Adam Stevens saying the lug nut got behind the wheel. It was sandwiched between the wheel and the caliper. Hopefully no damage. We've already seen a lot of brake issues today. We'll have to closely watch this 18 to make sure there's no brake damage.
And let's take a look at the stage results presented by Ford Performance. The 10 points, but perhaps more importantly, the 1 playoff point going to the 18 of Kyle Busch.
So we talked about this pit road and how the drivers are on the opposite side. Well, we're here, Casey Kane trying to get out around the 27, catches the tire, and the tire carrier luckily didn't send him up and over the hood, but did knock him over.
That brings us to another point, as Marty raised a little earlier. We're going to need to talk about the strategy and what's on the minds of the 24, the 42. Staying out, Jamie McMurray in the 1 as well. There is Chase Elliott on the inside in the Sun Energy 1 Chevrolet. Ready to go. About to enter the Geico restart zone. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott on the front row. But remember, they have not pitted. They're working a different strategy. McMurray's on the same. Ready to go here at the Glen. Let's do it. Good restart, Chase Elliott. Here comes the 42 on the outside. Kyle Larson, but does he blow it? He tucks it back in just on the other side of the curb. Jamie McMurray's able to grab that second position away, and here comes Daniel Suarez.
Larson throws it away on the restart. Chase Elliott capitalizes. So does Jamie McMurray. So does Daniel Suarez. Kyle Larson able to get back on track in the 4th position as everybody steams up the back straightaway, getting set for a run through the bus stop.
Chase Elliott with a big lead into the bus stop here. Continues to keep that lead as they go to the exit. Jamie McMurray not able to make up any ground. If anything, losing ground as they come into the carousel here. Looks like Chase Elliott is feeling really good about the race cars. You see, actually, Kyle Larson get very loose in the center of the carousel. Neil handling car there, Jeff.
Yeah, Kyle Larson lost a lot of ground. You saw how free he got and how quickly Matt Kenseth closed that gap. So they're going to battle side by side. Like it went down, Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr., remember, he pitted. He's trying to work his way back to the front.
We mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Steve, that Levine Family Racing K-Love 95 of road racing specialist Michael McDowell. He might just be a player.
Yeah, he was, and he sounded very confident in his car, and I think he's showing it early.
Leaders through the short straightaway. Now up through turns 2, 3, and 4. There are the S's here at Watkins Glen. Good battle for 6th. Jimmy Johnson is there along with Ryan Blaney. And Eric Jones now trying to make some moves as Blaney will pull to the inside, trying to advance on Johnson while keeping Jones behind him.
That's right. The 48 car got very loose at the top of the S's there, Bagman, and then was able to actually recover to the exit down in the inner loop and able to hold off that 21 car who's now fallen into the clutches of the 77 of Eric Jones. And that will happen throughout the day. Make a little mistake, the guy in front of you makes a mistake, you get forced back into cars coming and attacking you as the 77 is trying to get around the 21.
Here we saw Eric Jones make that little mistake early in the race. It wasn't catastrophic, though. So now you've lost your track position because you pitted. Be cool here. Take your time. You've done a nice job. Don't try to do too much. Side by side, tight battle coming to the front straightaway.
Kevin Harvick on the inside, Martin Truex Jr. on the outside. And Truex will hold it there, heading down the straight towards turn 1. Great battle. Kevin Harvick was involved in quite a bit yesterday in the Xfinity Series race, and he came undone right here at turn 1 when he spun. And it was an eventful day. He's looking for a smoother run today. Harvick currently in 11th.
Right now watching Kevin Harvick in front of a great battle with Denny Hamlin, who had to start at the back of the pack today because of braking issues. He has now worked his way up just outside of the top 10, but he's got heavy-duty business at the back door. Michael McDowell, Brad Keselowski, A.J. Allmendinger, and of course they're trying to catch Kevin Harvick, Parker.
That's right, Kevin Harvick comes to the inner loop there, just someone in front of him, kicking up a little bit of dirt. That will happen. It's not a big effect on what you're doing. You see a great pedal cam there of what he's doing through the carousel, just playing with the throttle to eventually at the exit, gets full throttle, he lifts on the upshifts, and then he's just going to tap that brake as he comes towards you, Jeff, to make sure it's there.
Yeah, watch him tap the gas pedal right here. That little blip right there, that's when he downshifts, goes from 4th gear to 3rd gear. Now he's going to do it again, wide open throttle, brakes. Now he's in 2nd gear, going to accelerate through 2nd gear onto the front straightaway.
Let's have a listen. Let's go for a ride. Isn't that fantastic? Great ride with Kevin Harvick in the 4 with the foot cam. Marty, what have you got for us?
Well, Lee back behind Kevin Harvick is Joey Logano in the 18th position. He came to pit road in 7th. They lost 15 spots on pit road. They couldn't get the right rear on the car once they took it off. So they had problems on pit road yesterday. The same crew with a lug nut hung. Today they couldn't get the right front on. And here's the pit stop for Joey Logano. Cost him 15 positions. We talked about the pressure on this 22 team needing a win these final 5 weeks of the regular season. They thought that might come here. That's certainly not going to help things. You need a mistake-free day if you're going to win here at Watkins Glen, Kelly.
There's the 42 of Kyle Larson. He has 2 wins, but he's looking to get some mojo back. And his crew chief, Chad Johnston, telling me they were going strictly for the race win, and they'd have to give up track position in one of these stages. That's what they're doing now, Marty.
Kelly, it was very noticeable that these guys who stayed out were turning some very quick lap times out there. Jamie McMurray coming in right now, but they have a problem on the left front of the car. They couldn't get the tire off. Now they can't get it back on. So problems for Jamie McMurray, who was making a strategy play, but losing tons of time here on pit road right now.
See the clock continue to run over 30 seconds. This is going to be a huge, huge penalty for the 1.
Wow, that hurts. Because here comes the leader of the race, Chase Elliott, and the 1 had been going so strong.
You can see the final car here, Watkins Glen, in this first cycle of pit stops coming to pit road. That's Chase Elliott, 59 laps to go, so they'll have to obviously pit again, but Alan Gustafson playing some strategy here. Chase did lead a few laps in this cycle. We'll see if it pays off for them later at the race when they want to win the thing, Lee.
Yeah, ended up leading 9 laps in total so far, Marty, as it's now time to take a look at our Toyota Camry on-track car, Steve.
Well, Lee, we talk about this backwards pit road where the driver's on the left side. Well, normally, let's talk about servicing the driver. If you're going to give the driver some ice or a drink of water, you step off pit wall, but the driver's on the wrong side. So you either have to hand the ice across the car, hand the water across the car, or your other option is run all the way around the front of the car. But remember, there are 6 other pit crew guys out there. So you go around, you let them finish their service, then you step in, hand the driver his service, his ice, his water, the car leaves, and here you are on the middle of pit road. So let's look to 18. They choose to hand it through the right side of the car. So this crew member leans all the way in, drink bottle in the system, bag of ice to the driver. He's going to reach up, clean windshield, step back, but look how close he is. He has to be gone before the pit crew guys come over. So everything is just a little more difficult on this backwards pit road.
Time to take a look at our Toyota driver update. And Daniel Suarez, the Xfinity Series champion, has grabbed the lead after the 24 of Chase Elliott came down pit road for the first time in today's 90-lap race. And you see where everyone else is placed. It's an interesting thing, the blend of ages, Steve. You've got the experience of Harvick, of Johnson, etc., Kurt Busch, the guys who are in their late 30s, early 40s, and then you've got the changing of the guard, people like Daniel Suarez and Ryan Blaney and Eric Jones in their early 20s. I mean, it's an interesting kind of juxtaposition, isn't it?
Well, and I think it's a great time for the sport seeing that. Right here on the screen, you have Daniel Suarez and Matt Kenseth. You know, this is 2 careers. You have one starting, one perhaps finishing. Matt Kenseth, I'm sure, has some years left driving, but not decades like Daniel Suarez has. So it's a healthy time for NASCAR to have this mix of young and veteran drivers.
Well, I liked it when Jeff Burton sat down with Matt Kenseth last week at Pocono in the motor coach, and he said, "Hey, at 45, how do you think you're still driving?" And he said, "I'm driving as well as ever. I'm not ready to stop just yet." Let's check in with Kelly Stavis. Kel.
Back in the garage where unfortunately Dale Jr.'s day is coming to an end. Not the way you want to say goodbye to the Glen. We heard you say you were down on power. What more can you tell us about the 88?
We had a problem with the valve train and through push rod through the valve covers, so we can't fix it. But it's been a really difficult week. We've been way down on speed, and we had a pretty good car at Sonoma, so I was kind of looking forward to coming here, but. You know, guys worked really hard. We changed this car inside and out twice this weekend, and we had made it better. We was kind of hanging in there. I think we had a shot at maybe a top 20 at best, but man, we showed up. We were about 4 seconds off, so I don't know. Been a little frustrating this weekend, and this doesn't make it much better, but sure have enjoyed racing here, and really appreciate the fans here, the track, and the staff, and they've treated us so good every time we've been here, so it's been a blessing.
Thanks for your time, Dale.
Thank you.
As a driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr. says farewell to Watkins Glen, but he will be back. Junior Nation will be able to see Dale here in years to come. It's time for us to go non-stop. You won't miss a thing. We'll be back to the Glen in just a moment. This spot of coverage is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. And a quick reminder to gear up with the pit crew and get the latest NASCAR t-shirts, hats, and die-casts at the NASCAR shop. Visit NASCAR.com/shop today for all your favorite drivers' gear.
Watching the battle for the lead, Daniel Suarez looks in his rearview mirror, and here comes Martin Truex Jr. Truex has already gotten around Kenseth. He's left Kenseth by 5 car lengths, and he's got 7 to make up to catch the race leader. Kelly?
Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick in the 4 car on pit road. They were optimistic after practice, but right now Kevin Harvick saying that the car turns worse and he has no rear grip. It's going to be a 4-tire stop, and they're going back on an air pressure adjustment they made earlier.
Martin Truex Jr. stalking the 19 car of Daniel Suarez. Not surprising considering he has been the best at this stage racing in 2017, Jeff.
Yes, with only 3 laps left before this stage in, it's important for Martin Truex to try to get Daniel Suarez, because remember, Kyle Busch has won 5 of the last 6 chase stage ends. He needs to start earning those stage ends to help him in the playoffs.
Plenty of other activity on pit road. Johnson came in, so too did McDowell. And several others. So Austin Dillon was also on the same strategy call there, in addition to Kevin Harvick, who Kelly was talking about. Meanwhile, Matt Kenseth has been dropped from these 2. Daniel Suarez and the 78 of Martin Truex Jr.
And objects in Daniel Suarez's mirror are definitely closer than what they appear. Here's Truex. He's left Kenseth behind, and slowly but surely starting to chip into Daniel Suarez's lead as they race their way up the back straightaway.
And he takes a big bite out of that lead in the braking zone in the inner loop there. Martin Truex Jr. gaining fast on Daniel Suarez as we're coming here to the final lap in this stage. As they go through the carousel here, this will be one of the places he wants to line up that 19 car to pass. If he can get a better run out of here and get to his bumper, it can give him that run down to turn 6, Jeff.
In his rookie year, Daniel Suarez has proven that he can race with these guys. Being able to hold Martin Truex off right here would be another feather in his cap. He's trying to earn his way in the Cup Series. Holding off the guy that's won the most stage ends would help him go even further.
Well, Jeff, it's going to be a battle to hold him off with 1 lap to go. Remember, Martin Truex Jr. pitted at the end of the last stage. He has already passed 12 race cars to get to the rear bumper of Daniel Suarez.
Guess who else has been doing some pretty tidy work? The 18 of Kyle Busch. After those pit road woes, he has passed 23 cars since then. He's flying, Bagman.
He is flying, and so is Martin Truex Jr. trying to score his 15th stage win of the year. But he's got to get around Daniel Suarez to do it. He's chopped it down to 3 car lengths. He's chopped it down to 2 car lengths. And he's trying to take home this stage win. But he's got work to do, Parker.
Just not close enough to make the move down in the loop, but he gets right to the rear bumper of Daniel Suarez as they're coming into the carousel. If he can get to that rear bumper, maybe take some air off the rear end of that 19, get him a little bit loose and get that run out of those corners. You see him get a good run and use all the racetrack off the carousel, Jeff.
Suarez did a nice job of maintaining speed in the carousel. You saw the 78 beat him up bad getting in the inner loop. Only 2 corners left where Daniel Suarez is trying to hold Martin Truex off. Can Martin make a move on the inside? Suarez blocking, not letting him make that move.
Oh, the 78 lit it up out of turn 6. This is going to be the first stage win for Daniel Suarez in the 19, and he does hold Martin Truex off for the stage 2 victory. Well done. That was tight at the end.
Stay heavy for me.
Good stuff from the 25-year-old from Monterrey, Mexico. First year in the Monster Energy Cup Series, and he gets a stage win. Good work from the man who grabbed the Xfinity Series Championship last year. He's a nice guy too, and he's one heck of a driver. Quick reminder about NBC Sports on Sirius XM, NASCAR Radio Channel 90, each Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, the Morning Drive. And this week's special guest is our family man, our brother Rutledge Wood. And from MRN and Sirius XM Satellite Radio, NASCAR Channel 90 Morning Drive is the bagman, Mike Bagley. And with our multiple vantage point coverage today, there's the bagman on the left. It was great to be with you and Pete Pistone earlier this week. You're going to have Rut coming up, but let's talk about the race at hand. Mike, what have you seen? What's grabbed your attention so far?
Well, what's grabbed my attention is the power of the Toyotas. Kyle Busch dominated this race early on, and as we just saw, Daniel Suarez, also in the JGR fleet, Martin Truex Jr. doing his thing as well. This race is far from over, but this Toyota power, pretty impressive. What about you, Parker?
Well, same points, same two drivers. Kyle Busch has been the best driver through my section in the inner loop. But if there's a close second, it would have to be Martin Truex Jr. The amount he gained on Daniel Suarez in the braking zone into the center of the inner loop was absolutely impressive. It was almost 3/10 to get to the bumper. That's the kind of speed he's going to need to be carrying all day if he's going to beat that 18 car come the end of the day. Jeff?
Yeah, Parker, I think what I'm fascinated by is the strategies. When people pitted, when's the next pit stop? Who's going to end up guessing right? When's that caution going to come out that's going to help somebody and hurt somebody else? But so far from me, with the exception of Kyle Busch and Martin Truex and their speed, I got to go Daniel Suarez. That block on turn 7 to win that stage, that was an awesome move. Looked like a veteran move. For me right now, that was the coolest thing I've seen.
Here it is. What did you make of it, Stevie?
Well, Daniel Suarez knew where he was going to get past and just put his car in that position. Protected, did a very nice job. A veteran move for a rookie in this series.
Yeah, he leads the Sunoco Rookie of the Year standings, by the way. Tremendous move. He did not crack under pressure. Pit road is coming alive at the end of the second stage. Leaders have stayed out, as you can see. Tell you what we're going to do while we've got the time. Why not? Steve is going to dial it up, see if we can go inside the 19, brought to you by NASCAR Heat 2 video game. Let's talk to Daniel Suarez.
Hey, Daniel, Steve Letarte in the NBCSN booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha, boss.
Well, those were some very impressive closing laps at the end of stage 2. A veteran move with the block, the shift on the exit of turn 6. Tell us about those closing laps holding off the 78.
I guess that was a go-kart move. Back when I was 10 years old, racing go-karts, but it was pretty tough. My front tires and my rear tires, they were pretty hot already, and I was just trying to hold off for my life right there, but it worked out good, so let's see what we got here for the next 50 laps.
Well, we saw you stay on the racetrack right there. Explain to the fans at home, the pit strategies could be confusing from behind the wheel. Do you worry about them, or do you let the crew chief handle that and you just work on the driving?
I need to work on the driving, obviously. I wish I can know a little bit more about the plan for the race, but what I trust on my guys, Scott, Grace, and the rest of the guys, they're doing a very good job, like all year long, and I know that I'm in good hands with these guys, and it seems like a lot of guys are the same mentality than us, so I think that is going to be an advantage here.
Well, congratulations on the stage win. 48 laps to go. It's been very impressive to watch. Good luck here in the final stage.
There just happens to be a phenomenal road course in Monterrey, Mexico, where Daniel hails from. Unfortunately, it's a point of frustration for him. He never got to race there. You're watching Monster Energy Cup Series racing from Watkins Glen International. We're in the Finger Lakes district of upstate New York on a beautiful mid-70s day. Just fabulous to go racing. Talking about fabulous, have a look at this. Our aerial coverage is provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. And it's one thing for Steve or myself or Jeff or any of the guys to say just how fabulous and amazing this event is. Third year in a row, a complete sellout here at the Glen. Those camping spots, Steve, I think they were gone either late last year or early this year. And then the grandstands have also been sold out for the third year in a row.
Well, I can see why it has been a great race, but it's been a little bit confusing with a lot of cars on pit road at different times. So you see the last pit, everything from lap 17, lap 22, 23, as you go farther back outside the top 10, and you look in the side of the top 20, we have some cars that have pitted around lap 37. So basically, it's very simple. With 47 laps to go, everyone is going to have to hit pit road again. The question is when. I think in about 10 laps, cars will think they're inside their fuel window. A lot of different strategies, but it's kind of all reset here, basically around the halfway mark.
And there are two pretty good comebacks. One of Kyle Busch, the other of AJ Allmendinger after that wheel hop and run wide at turn 1. Keep an eye on the 18 and also the 47. Entering the Geico restart zone, ready to go to begin stage 3. 46 laps to go. Let's do it here at the Glen. Suarez with Truex on the outside. Blaney in the red and white 21 for Wood Brothers. You'll see him in Penske colors this time next year, and Truex takes the lead.
Around the outside and to the lead, the climb to the clouds through the S's. It's Martin Truex Jr. He's away with the point. He's pulled away by 3 car lengths over Suarez. You got Ryan Blaney, Matt Kenseth, also Denny Hamlin lined up there as they go streaking down the back straightaway.
That they do into the inner loop, which is lined with fans on the fences on the right and the left, surrounding this entire place. Oh, as we got trouble here. Somewhere in the midfield, 2 cars go spinning. Looks like the 2 car of Brad Keselowski and the 18 of Kyle Busch.
And Kyle Busch was coming up the outside, entering the inner loop. He was a drag race with AJ Allmendinger, came up on the 2. He's been chopping the field up left and right, but perhaps that was one move just too many.
Here, 4 tires.
That's a very difficult place to pass side by side right in front of you, Parker. That is very, very tight trying to get in there. 2 competitive cars trying to carry speed. Nobody was going to give that spot. So that is not the first time we've seen cars go side by side and spin in the inner loop.
Well, and as Lee pointed out, I don't think the 2 of Brad Keselowski expected it because he wasn't on the inside driver's right. He was on the outside driver's left. I think he had no idea. So as you see a replay right here, you see Brad Keselowski kind of committing. And I don't think he understands the 18 is to his left. He's carrying the speed in there like he's going to have all the track on his left-hand side to work for. It wasn't there. He makes contact with the 18, spinning both cars out.
Yeah, that was a battle for 8th. And what happened there, Steve, is that Keselowski is right behind Kurt Busch. Well, Keselowski cannot carry the speed, just like on the interstate. When the guy in front of you slows down, you have to slow down sooner, and so on. It just goes further back. Kyle Busch had that clear lane, and he was flying up through the outside. It wasn't that Kyle overdrove, but I agree with you. Keselowski had no idea he was going to be there. Keselowski had to slow down because of the accordion effect. Marty.
And Kyle Busch leaving with 4 fresh tires. He asked him to pull the fenders out. He is not happy with Brad Keselowski, in essence saying, I will get him if I can get to him.
Remember 2012? It's set up for that epic finish between Brad Keselowski and Marcus Ambrose, but it all began, and it got that way because of contact between Keselowski and Kyle Busch. The history here at the Glen goes on. Let's have a listen to some radio communication from within the 2.
Sure. It's either on the fender or flat. I don't know. I don't think it's flat.
Got a lap to figure it out here. Fender looks okay. It's a little dinged at the 12 o'clock position, but it's dinged up.
And now basically the concern is, does he have to come to pit road? But if the 2 car can nurse this for about another 8 or 10 laps, that will be inside their planned time to come to pit road anyway. That's what the Brad and the 2 team is trying to figure out. Is it a must pit situation, or can we make a handful of laps? Guess wrongly, flat tire on the racetrack will completely end the day.
And guys, this isn't the first time we've seen these 2 have a bit of run, and you think back to the races that they've had here back in 2012, getting into each other on the last lap. Brad Keselowski spins him out into the S's and then has that awesome duel with Marcus Ambrose. Kyle Busch was not happy about that one, getting spun on the last lap. Marcus Ambrose ends up winning it. And then 2013, these two go at it again. Look at these two guys going through the carousel here, and to the final lap, he just bumps the 18 a little bit off the final corner, but isn't able to get the run to the checker, and Kyle Busch wins. And then the final two restarts of 2016. Side by side in here, trying to outbrake each other. They end up outbraking both themselves, and the rest of the field gets up to them. And then on the final restart, once again, these two go side by side and 3 wide for the lead. And Kyle ends up losing it into the 2 car, and they've got to rejoin the track. They have a history here at this racetrack as being the 2 best drivers, the 2 drivers everyone in this field looks to see what speed they bring to Watkins Glen, but also find themselves racing for the win.
Hey, Bagman, did you see that brewing early in the S's?
I did, actually. This was brewing on these restarts, close quarter formation. And those two, not necessarily leaning on one another, but they're not letting each other get away. And it started here at the top of turn 4 and obviously manifested itself down in the inner loop.
That's right, as Brad Keselowski finds himself now mired in traffic. He needs to reset. He knows he's assessing that race car. They've assessed the damage, decided to stay out, and he has to now start methodically picking these cars off. If he wants to be back in this race through maybe some cautions and strategy, he's got to find a way to pick these cars off.
It is so hard to pass once you get in the back. But remember Kyle Busch, the problem he had early in the race, that lug nut between the caliper and the wheel, that started the series of events that put him in the back. Remember, he was leading this race. Martin Truex Jr. was running second. Martin Truex Jr. clearly now in the lead, and Kyle Busch having to play makeup.
And Truex Jr. now boasts a 3-second advantage over Ryan Blaney. Back at the Glen, you're watching the I Love New York 355 at the Glen. And this is Martin Truex Jr. for Furniture Row Racing. leader and leading convincingly by almost 5 seconds last time by. Let's head to pit road for an update on the 2 with Marty Snyder. Marty?
Well, the other part of that incident a moment ago with Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski was that 2 car. Brad Keselowski finally told Paul Wolfe, he said, listen, I have a vibration. I can't keep it out here any longer. He thought he might have a tire going down. All the tires are indeed up, meaning they have air pressure in them. However, though, they were very badly flat spotted. So now a caution on the track. That's going to throw another wrench into all this. You see the 34 car having an issue and a tire on the track as well. But Brad Keselowski did pit, and they might be able to stretch it from here, Steve, save some fuel and try and make it to the end. Who knows?
Yeah, as I saw the 34 of Landon Castle's tire go down during your report, that's exactly what I was thinking. So you see as he enters turn 1 here, the left front tire is just soft. The nose is already on the ground. You see the sparks. So something obviously cut that tire. We haven't seen any sort of tire trouble. Then Landon does the best job possible nursing it around, but there's nothing he can do from behind the wheel. The piece finally comes off. Huge piece of debris causes that yellow. And as you were reporting, Marty, 41 laps is a lot farther than I would like to stomach, but Paul Wolfe now has at least a chance. Maybe he can gamble with fuel strategy and try to recover from these issues on the racetrack.
Landon Castle's Front Row Motorsports Ford finally makes it back to pit road.
This is a tough time for all crew chiefs, Lee, because 39 to go. This time around will be 38 to go. We'll have to see if pit road is open. That is probably, not probably, that is outside the fuel window for every team on pit road. But I think you have to pit. You don't know how many cautions you're going to get to save fuel.
Right.
We talk about the new NASCAR. Well, the new NASCAR is a full gamble all the time. Super aggressive is the new standard. And I think that's what we're going to see here with a very busy pit road of a bunch of teams that would have liked to have run 2 or 3, maybe 4 laps.
This is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. It's a lot more detailed than yesterday's Xfinity race. We'll see how it shakes out when we come back to Watkins Glen. You're back watching Monster Energy Cup Series action on your home of motorsport, NBCSN, and pit road is about to come alive. Kelly Stavis kicks us off.
Martin Truex Jr. in the 78 team. Martin's been quite on the radio since picking up his 15th stage win of the season after he takes his 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel. Cole Pearn saying they'll be in max save mode. Meanwhile, the rookie Daniel Suarez in the 19, ready for that fresh Goodyear rubber. He says he's lacking grip on the old tires. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, and an air pressure adjustment, Marty.
What a run for these young kids like Daniel Suarez and Ryan Blaney on the bottom of your screen, running second coming to pit road. He said it was better that run, but starting to fade at the end of the run. He said he was loose on entry especially, and he needs help in the left-handers especially. 4 fresh Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel, they hope, until the end of the race.
And there was a big crash right there, Lee. Did you see the 4th Kevin Harvick? You can kind of see him at the top of your screen. He's the blue car right here. His crew is working on it. He had not just a little fender bender, a major impact. You see the hole in the nose. He stopped and actually backed into his pit box after the contact. That is one of the bigger wrecks you're going to see on pit road.
That was chaotic. Have a look at this. There's Harvick. Oof, just nails the 83 of Brett Moffitt.
And then you see Staub. Nice job. So right here on board, this is going to be a great shot of it.
Listen.
Be ready, be ready, be ready. Go hard, 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 hard. One outside, one outside.
Yeah, that right there is just a difficult spot for a driver to be in. You can hear his crew chief saying, go, 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 go. So you're leaving. That's your cue to leave.
And Moffitt was waiting. He kind of balked to get into his stall because A.J. Allmendinger was there.
And you see Kevin knew right away he was in trouble. He stopped, didn't even try to go back on the race course. 2.5 miles around this road course. You don't need parts, pieces, flat tires, you know, as you drive around. So they back into the box, Kelly, and try to do repairs.
Yeah, Rodney Childers telling the team to focus on the left side. He said, don't worry about the right side. Just work on that left side there. They've obviously got to use that bear bond that they've stuck on there to try to keep that hood down. Massive damage for a pit road crash.
And I know this is painful to watch, but Kevin Harvick was never going to be in the position. As that flat tire was coming out, you see he's trying to get to pit road, looks up, wisely has to abort because when the caution came out, pit road closed. But think about that. If Kevin Harvick, we're talking this entire race could be different because of a few hundred feet. If he would have made it to pit road before the caution came out, he would have never been in that situation. So, you know, we talk about football being a game of inches. Well, sometimes in racing, it's a game of lucky breaks and a few hundred feet.
Things just have not gone the Sonoma race winner's way this weekend, either with the Cup race or the Xfinity Series race yesterday here at Watkins Glen.
So now we have all kinds of plans, all kinds of strategy. We have tires, we have no fuel. We have people who are going to try to stretch it. But the simple fact is it's going to be 37 to go when they take the green.
Brad Keselowski on the left as they enter the Geico restart zone. Clint Boyer in the 14 for Stewart Haas Racing. Back at it here at the Glen. Ryan Blaney forceful in the middle there. In the Wood Brothers 21, he's getting all squirrely. McMurray on the inside in 1. Truex is in the mix. So too is Chris Buescher. He's a good little road racer. He may feature here. Keep an eye on the 37.
Chris Buescher right now on the heels of Martin Truex Jr. as the battle for third tightens up. Clint Boyer's got company. He's got on his bumper, Ryan Blaney, although Blaney will slip in the S's, and here comes Martin Truex Jr., poised in position and ready to pounce.
He throws a block on Martin Truex Jr., the 21 of Ryan Blaney, trying to hold him off into the inner loop. Gets a little bit squirrely once again. Martin Truex Jr. will be right on his back as Kenseth is side by side there, is able to get to the inside of Chris Buescher. We'll see how they go side by side to the carousel here. You see Martin, they are side by side. If he can get the run on the exit here, he'll be in good position going down to turn 6, Jeff.
And Kenseth has a lot of momentum, but he's on the outside lane going into turn 6. That's not the preferred lane. Can he stay with him through 6 and into 7? If he can do that, he will have the preferred lane in turn 7. Right now, Matt Kenseth is driving a corner a little bit deeper and trying to beat him into turn 1.
You mentioned the young drivers versus the veterans. This is it. This is the new NASCAR. Chris Buescher pushing the limits in unorthodox positions on the racetrack.
And you got 2 Xfinity Series champions here on screen. Chris Buescher and Daniel Suarez riding with Matt Kenseth. Oh, the 10 of Danica Patrick. Trouble at turn 1. Danica spun in the opening practice session of the weekend. Doesn't look like too much damage there. Maybe a wheel hop situation. It may have been contact. Parker.
Jamie McMurray made a big lunge on the brakes there to Brad Keselowski. Remember, Keselowski has pitted earlier than them. He's going to have to save fuel unless he can get a caution here while trying to keep the lead and keep Jamie McMurray and Clint Bowyer behind him. It looks like Clint Boyer's going to get a good run here off the carousel to gain on Jamie McMurray.
As we're watching a replay, see Danica Patrick gets in the corner, it's a little hard for me to see, but it looks like some contact was made by Kyle Busch. A little hard for me to see out here with the sunshine on my screen, but I thought there was contact. But to your point, Parker, Brad Keselowski, he's got a tough game to play right now. Save fuel because he's got to make it to the end or try to keep this lead.
I do agree. I think there was absolute contact between the 18 and the 10, much clearer up here in the booth, but Jeff brings up a great point. The two trying to save fuel, so what's Jamie McMurray's job? Don't let it. Push, push, push. Do not allow Brad Keselowski to set the pace.
Full court press from Jamie McMurray. He's on the back bumper of Brad Keselowski. A slip would help McMurray, but McMurray, with the power he's showing, could definitely take the lead away on his own. Keselowski's able to drag him by 3 car lengths, but McMurray right there waiting for a slip from Keselowski.
We saw earlier in the race, Keselowski made a little mistake in the loop. He does not want to do that here. Trying to hold that lead, trying to hold Jamie McMurray at bay. Gets a little bit of distance between himself and the one car as they go through the carousel here. Looks like he's just a bit stronger to the center and to the exit as he makes the run down to you, Jeff.
This is not only a battle for this race, it's also a battle to try to get into playoffs. Remember, Jamie McMurray does not have a win. Clint Bowyer does not have a win. They need wins to be able to get themselves into playoffs. Jamie McMurray has a 38-point advantage right now, but that's not enough over the next 5 races. So in addition to this race, the year could be on the line for these 2 cars.
And Jeff, the two doing the chasing, McMurray and Bowyer, have 4 more laps worth of fuel. They're better off there. They did not take tires last time around. We'll see. This is fascinating. Slightly different strategy and so much on the line. We know that Keselowski's fine, but the desperation is coming from behind.
Jamie McMurray and Clint Bowyer, 2nd and 3rd. They are lined up in this 3-car breakaway for the lead here at Watkins Glen, but they cannot afford to dilly-dally. Martin Truex Jr. in 4th, beginning to close in. He's trying to make that a 4-man fight for the point.
Hey, and Bags, keep this in mind. Brad Keselowski, Paul Wolfe has been telling him, hey, I don't think anybody can make it who pitted at lap 53, so go as hard as you can go. Don't save any fuel. Don't worry about that. And remember, Jamie McMurray, the last time down pit road, was fuel only. They last took tires at 43. Brad Keselowski actually has fresher tires than Jamie McMurray, so he's doing everything he can do to hang on to that lead, Dave.
And Marty, that fuel-only strategy was the same for Clint Bowyer. Came down pit road, got fuel, no fresh tires, was able to leapfrog about 10 positions and get in this position to possibly win the race.
Well, we talked about positions, strategies, approaches. How do you do that as we see a battle between Clint Bowyer and Jamie McMurray? Well, look, there's a lot of different ways to get there. Keselowski 2 stops, the 2 cars behind him both at 4 stops. Truex and Blaney also at 2 stops. So tires versus fuel versus strategy, a lot of different ways there, Bagman, to get your car to the finish.
Bowyer has gotten around McMurray to go to 2nd. McMurray looks in the rearview mirror, and here comes Martin Truex Jr., one of the strongest cars all day here at Watkins Glen. Finds himself in the 4th position, trying to take 3rd from McMurray. McMurray, his hands are full on the backstretch right now.
78 moves out to try and just show his nose, maybe unsettle the 1 car loop as they go into the inner loop here, right on his tail. And that 14 car, Stewart-Haas Racing thought that was the best car they had out of the 4 cars here this weekend. He had to start from the rear of the field because he had brake issues after qualifying, and now finds himself fighting for the lead, Jeff.
Martin Truex Jr., he's been fast all day long. Jamie McMurray is a formidable road racer, though. This is not going to be an easy pass. Jamie McMurray knows how to make lap time, and he knows how to protect, knows how to block and when to block. Martin Truex Jr., an aggressive move in turn 7.
Just the way that 78 just keeps looming large in everybody's mirrors. Boy, has it been flying today. 2 more left on Martin Truex Jr.'s list. Clint Bowyer, his old Michael Waltrip Racing teammate, immediately ahead. Can anyone prevent this 78 from going to victory lane again in 2017 is the question.
Martin Truex Jr. right now enters the S's about 5 car lengths behind Bowyer. But with every passing moment, he's shaving into that or chopping off that separation between himself and Bowyer. He's got some work to do, but he's got the car to do it, Parker.
And that puts Clint Boyer in a tough position. You want to be able to go up there and try and attack that 2 car. You want to go up there and try to get to him.
Bad news is that 78's a little faster.
And that's exactly the word you don't want to hear. He's a little bit faster than you. That's the position Clint Boyer's in. He has to try and protect the second place position while trying to go after the leader.
You gotta love the comedy act there with Brett Griffith, the spotter of the 14 car. That was keeping Clint Boyer light. That's important to do. Even though this is an aggressive race, you have to race with your heart. You have to race for fun. Brett Griffith, as a spotter, doing a great job of saying, hey, man, you're doing great. 78's a little better. Trying to find a way to get a little more speed without doing it in a way of saying you're not doing a good job.
Remember what Cole Pern, the crew chief of the 78, said after the engine let go in Sonoma, where Martin Truex was so strong. He said, let's put a fresh engine in this and let's go do another road course right now. That's how confident they were out in California. And now look at the 78 fly, Bagman.
Battle for second. Martin Truex Jr. has arrived on the scene. The question is, where can he make the move? Boyer feeling all kinds of pressure. Full court press from Truex. Here he goes. He'll swing to the outside, side by side for second.
He's got the preferred inside lane into the loop, outbreaks Clint Boyer easily, and now sets his sights on Brad Keselowski. He just turned the fastest lap in the field in that 78 car, Martin Truex Jr. As you see the 1 car, Jamie Murray, just getting attacked by Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney also turning some very fast laps right now.
Another one of these young drivers we're seeing becoming really good road racers. Ryan Blaney putting a lot of pressure on the 1 car, Jamie Murray. We talked about how good Jamie is, so trying to pass Jamie Murray will not be easy. Ryan Blaney doing a very good job. Once again, another pass in turn 7. I'm shocked how many people have been able to make that happen. Normally that spells disaster.
Blaney was able to drive the 21 to a top 10 result in Sonoma, but here at the Glen, especially late in the race, as history tells us, anything can happen. It's time to go non-stop. You won't miss a thing here on your home of motorsport. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. And on the track, look at this, the 78 of Martin Truex Jr., the points leader in the Monster Energy Cup Series, headed to the playoffs with the most points, goes wide at turn 7. Brad Keselowski leaves the door wide open, and Truex takes the lead. This car has clearly been the class of the field. The 18, if it was there, that would have been an interesting battle, but this has been all 78 as he has just checked them off one at a time. Is Martin Truex Jr. headed for his 4th win of the year with just 26 to go.
In a great exercise of patience, Martin Truex Jr. has bided his time. He's gotten the lead. Now it's time for him to put his sails in the wind and ride off into the sunset. Here's Truex off turn number 4, pulling away from second place, Brad Keselowski.
He puts a lot of distance between himself and that 2 car as he goes down the braking zone of the inner loop. And I think back to a black car that was made famous in NASCAR, the 3 car of Dale Earnhardt. He was the Intimidator. And I think in 2017, Jeff, the car you don't want to see in your mirror is the black 78. He has a penchant for getting to the lead of these races.
They have been fast everywhere they've been. No surprise that he's running well here. He won Sonoma in 2013, so he is a good road racer. The question now that I have, Steve, is what is the plan? Do you keep laying down lap time, or do you now go into fuel conservation mode? This will be a tough decision for the 78 and the crew chief, Cole Pearn.
Well, I think that you have to allow your driver to get out to a comfortable margin, whether that's 1 second, 2 seconds.
We got to make up a decent amount over the next 25.
There you heard Cole. He's not going to let him get out to any margin. Save fuel. And you heard why he said that. He gave it a lot of heads up because he said we need to save a lot over the next 25, Bagley. So he's trying to give his driver as much time as possible.
Well, with the way he's been running today, Stevie, he can absolutely do that. He's probably saving fuel and still pulling away. He definitely has the speed, but now the strategy kicks in. To your point from earlier, it's all about just easing around this racetrack, especially through the inner loop.
Yeah, and he'll lift in the braking zones, but the car chasing him, the 2 car, Brad Keselowski, just had this on the radio.
Make your adjustment in traffic right now. First time you've been behind somebody in a while. Hey, looking for a nitro button.
Of course he'd want to push the pass button. Needs a little bit of speed, and what Joey Meyer's telling him there is to adjust in traffic, meaning he's going to have to work a little harder because these cars get tighter in traffic, Jeff.
They do get tighter in traffic, and I think another variable that we have to think about is cautions. Martin Truex Jr., he's trying to save tires. Maybe other people are trying to save fuel, but we're going to see cautions. This race always has at least 3 cautions in the final 20 laps and 3 in the last 4 races here. So it wouldn't surprise me to see more cautions. Martin Truex Jr. not only saving fuel, but also possibly saving tires for that late race restart.
It is time for us to go through the field. Brought to you by Hardee's. Dave, kick us off.
Let's look at Matt Kenseth's number 20 car with a bumper cam on it all day for us. Back in 2015, he got his first top 5 here at the Glen. And part of the reason is because he studied the inner loop. He used to think it was just a place that he just had to get through because there were so many different techniques. But after he studied it, he said it was a place to find time. And he's been better ever since. Kelly?
2014 Watkins Glen winner A.J. Allmendinger has not had the race car that he hoped to contend for a win with here today. In fact, calling the day of practice one of his most difficult days at a track in the last 4 to 5 years. At times today, he's been in a 4-wheel slide. So the plan now, the team has told A.J. that they are 2 laps short of making it on fuel, but they don't plan on stopping again. So A.J. doing his best, running in the 15th position, trying to hang on to as much fuel as he can and try to make it to the end. Meanwhile, the 42 of Kyle Larson has 2 wins this season, 7 runner-up finishes, but the last 2 weeks have been difficult. A wreck at Indy, last week a mechanical failure at Pocono, so his crew chief, Chad Johnson, telling me they really just need to finish this race, maybe get a solid finish out of it, and try to get their mojo and some momentum back on their side. Marty?
Kelly, what hasn't happened to Joey Logano today? They had the issue on pit road. He lost 15 spots, came in running 7th, out 22nd. They had the toe knocked out by some contact on the racetrack at one point. Joey doesn't even know when that happened, but that means the car won't track straight. And he also had a tear off on his windshield right in his vision. It was blocking his vision, in fact. So they've had a rough day here on the 22. We talked about the pressure on this race team to get a win in these 5 final weeks. Todd Gordon told me this morning, hey, we can't get sidetracked thinking we have to win. We can't let that anxiety build. We have to stay focused on building speed. But remember, Kelly, they came in here saying Watkins Glen is our best shot right now, just in 18th.
Well, for Kevin Harvick, who won at Sonoma driving the same car, hoped to get the road course sweep today. He was so happy with his car in practice. They didn't even really make any changes as you see him working the pedals there, but it has not been a good day for Kevin Harvick. First, as we saw, he had the flat tire, eventually made it back around to pit road where he had contact. This team just trying to salvage what they can of this race.
Look at this going on here. Kyle Busch in the 18 is now on the back of the 1 of Jamie McMurray hassling. This is for 7th position.
And I knew that the 18 had to be in traffic, Lee, because he wasn't the fastest car on the racetrack this lap. Every lap, he's in clean track, Jeff. This 18 car posts the fastest lap of everyone.
Yeah, he is flying up through the field. There's no question about that. But in turn 6, just a lap before, Daniel Suarez and Jamie McMurray contact in turn 6, shot Jamie across that curb. He was able to hold off. He was able to hold off Busch, but just barely. Kelly.
And we just saw the 42 of Kyle Larson make his way down to pit road. They're trying to get out of this slump. It was a 2-tire stop for Kyle.
So, Steve, if you're the 47, 42's come in, if you're the 47 of AJ Allmendinger, well, you're back in whatever he is, 27th in points. Points don't do enough. He's not going to point his way into the playoff. A win will get him into the playoffs. You're here with 22 to go. The team's already told him you've got to be in somewhat of a fuel conservation mode. Why not just throw a Hail Mary? Come in now, top up, get back out, and hope for a yellow.
Yeah, because he knows that he can't compete with the 78 on lap time. So perhaps, like you said, do something totally crazy. The race might fall your way. Who has the biggest concern on fuel? Well, the 2 of Brad Keselowski. He's 4 laps earlier than everyone else, so we listened in a little bit to their radio.
No, I mean, I'm Aaron Boyer saving gas already. Do I need to be more aggressive with him to do it?
No, I mean, we can't make it. We can't make it, so we just need to go.
All right, 10-4.
Guess what I'm saying is we don't need to give up spots. We just ride what we got.
And guys, Paul Wolf told Brad Keselowski we're about 6 laps short. Everybody else is 2 to 3 laps short. Sometimes, Steve, you can play that to your advantage. Maybe you can get to pit road a little bit earlier. Maybe you can play that to where it might help you out a little bit. So the 2 car, though, definitely on a different strategy here than everybody else because they had to pit off sequence with everybody else.
Yeah, they had to pit because of that run-in with Kyle Busch, had the damage to the left front fender. He had to come and repair that. The question I have, Marty, is if you know you're 6 short and you don't feel you can save it with any amount of cautions, maybe Paul Wolf will call his driver to pit road here with 20 to go or 18 to go and just go ahead and accept it and then try to use fresh tires to run guys down.
This is the Kroger click list on board of AJ Allmendinger in the 47. He's got Eric Jones in the 77 all over him. Out of turn 7 on the front straight. Jones is going to have the speed and the position into turn 1. So, Eric grabs that 14th spot away from the dinger. We're going to go non-stop as Martin Truex Jr. continues to increase his lead. You're watching Monster Energy Cup Series action from Watkins Glen International as we welcome you back, and we also say thanks to Smithfield Foods for giving us these amazing images in our aerial coverage of what has just been a spectacular weekend at Watkins Glen. Such a festive atmosphere. Folks in the grandstands, the campers, I mean, it's just been huge. And a quick reminder too that the Premier League returns this Friday at 2:45 p.m. Eastern on NBCSN. Arsenal hosts Leicester City. By the way, that's the first ever Friday night opener in the Premier League. Saturday morning, it is your Premier League morning with Premier League Live, and after that it's Watford and Liverpool. As we welcome you back, Lee Diffie along with Steve Letarte, and this is in our multiple vantage point coverage with MRN and SiriusXM satellite radios. Mike Bagley, Parker Kligerman is in the carousel, Jeff Burton's in 6 and 7. We've got Dave Burns, Marty Snyder, Kelly Stavist on the pit road. It's been a wonderful day. It's been enjoyable. It could be even more enjoyable for Martin Truex Jr., but lots of talk about saving fuel, trying to get there with the big picture bag man in mind that there's only 17 to go, about to be 16 to go. Is anybody going to throw a Hail Mary and hope for a yellow, or do you think they're just going to milk this to the end?
Lee, I don't see how anybody could possibly assume or even hope that there's going to be a caution. For the most part, the caution flags we've had have been for stage breaks today. We've had a couple here or there, but as we go down the stretch, this race has been extremely sanitary, and unless somebody has a major problem on the racetrack, we're probably headed for green flag all the way to the checker. That's a great question. If you're banking on caution, you may be casting your lot in a totally wrong direction. Parker, what do you think?
Well, I don't think that they're actually hoping for a caution. I think many of these teams, like the 78, the 14, think they're about 2 to 3 laps short and think they can save that on the racetrack. Remember, a road course is one of the places you can really save fuel. Every single braking zone, you can lift a little sooner. Let the car coast a little bit more, and that adds up over the entirety of the lap. As you see the 18 there going through the grass on the exit inner loop, he is doing that every single lap. He is driving like a man possessed that is not worried about saving fuel, Jeff. So I think you've got a couple different strategies here, but my opinion, these guys are going to go till they run out.
Well, fuel mileage for Truex, Keselowski, for even Kyle Busch, they have races, they have race wins, they're in the playoffs. What about Boyer, Kenseth, McMurray, Elliott? They can't afford to run out. If they run out, that could mean the end of their playoff hopes. So their fuel strategy is much more desperate than everyone else's.
Well, and Lee, if I were any of those teams that have wins, maybe Denny Hamlin back in the 10th position, maybe Jimmy Johnson all the way back in the 18th position, I would be hitting pit road. That would make all the leaders start to scratch their head. Well, now, if the caution comes out, they're going to be close to me. They're going to be good on fuel and good on tires. So I think there's going to be some differences of approaches in the closing laps. What are you hearing, Dave?
As Joey Logano hits pit road, the 14 of Clint Boyer, having already played one hand by not putting on tires last time and leapfrogging about 10 cars, has been told exactly how to save his fuel coming down in the later laps. Hang on a second. We'll get to that radio in a minute, Marty.
Riding along board with Joey Logano as he came down pit road, Dave, 15 to go. Todd Gordon, the first one to make this call. That's been a big debate on pit road for fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel. So he'll have no issue with fuel. His hope here is that other people run out on the racetrack. Adam Stevens called Kyle Busch a moment ago. He said, we got 2 choices, bud. You can come down pit road, take four tires and fuel and hope for a caution, or we can do a splash and go with a couple to go. Dave?
So, Marty, here's how Clint Boyer is going to save fuel.
These guys behind you have slowed down a little bit too. We just need to slow down with them. We're going to get more aggressive here with about 15 to go in the race. Probably looking to lift 100 feet, 150 feet early in at least 4 corners.
And recall, if there is a late caution and they don't pit, Clint Boyer is on 16-lap older tires.
I like Todd Gordon. I like the 22. I like the approach. As you see, the 2 of Brad Keselowski has run the 78 back down.
Look at this. For the lead of the race, right where Keselowski had the accident with Kyle Busch, the 2 for Team Penske takes the lead of this race. Kelly.
Well, Lee, I can tell you that Martin Truex Jr. knows that that 2 car cannot make it on fuel. He's been told twice in the recent laps that he has got to get much more aggressive with his fuel savings. So that's what Martin's doing. They're banking on the 2. Is going to have to stop. He's backed it up. He's letting off the gas early and earlier. 2 laps short was the message from Cole Pern to Martin Truex Jr.
As you see the replay right here, the 78 doesn't even really put up a fight as he climbs the S's. He knows the 2's coming. He really gives them the lane, allows the 2 to go by. This is an example of it's more than just your car, more than just your strategy. To be a great crew chief on top of the pit box, you have to know your opponent's car, your opponent's strategy, your opponent's weakness. The 2's weakness right now is purely in the fuel tank. No reason to race, Brad Keselowski. Kelly was spot on. The 78 is in a different race. Don't worry about the 2. Just keep the 14 and perhaps the 21 behind him. Those are the cars that we all believe can also make it on fuel.
Remember, 4 laps difference between these. Keselowski last pitted on 49, lap 49. Truex Jr. last pitted on lap 53. Same strategy as Truex is the car immediately behind him. Ryan Blaney, and so on. Clint Boyer, and so on. Matt Kenseth. Clint Boyer, he's doing his best to try and save as much fuel as he can. Let's take a look at today's lap leaders, brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. And Kyle Busch, who has had a storied race. The 18 was first and dropped back to 32nd after a loose wheel, and then he drove from 32nd to 9th. Then he went from 9th to 31st with that contact with Keselowski in the 2, and he's driven his way all the way back up to 8th. Good run today from Ryan Blaney in the 21, sitting third.
Lee, he's one of those drivers saving fuel, and things can change on the fly, can't they, Steve? Adam Stevens told Tony Hirschman, the spotter for Kyle Busch, bring him when he comes to pit road. As he was coming through right in front of Jeff Burton over there in one of the final turns, he said, scratch it, scratch it, scratch it, keep him on the track. So you can change your strategy as a crew chief, even on the fly, even multiple times on the lap.
Marty, that doesn't surprise me. I've just been listening to the 18 talk about that differing fuel strategy, what they want to do here. Do they pit, take 4 tires and fuel, or do they pit and just do fuel only and do quickly as possible? You see him once again put his right side tires in the grass. He has done that every single lap of this run. He is driving as hard as he can in that 18 car to make up time right now. I don't think he's saving fuel.
If he's not saving fuel, that may come back to haunt him. I believe all these drivers have to be saving fuel if they want to try to make the end of this. So if he's not, I'm sure these other 2 cars are. They would tell me that his car is not as good as it was early in the race, because I'm sure Jamie McMurray, he's in a position where he has to save fuel.
Well, Lee, we talk about fuel. Let's take Keselowski, the leader, out. No one thinks he can make it. Truex leading, Blaney 2nd, Boyer 4th, Kenseth 5th, even Suarez back to 6th. I think with this much of a fuel concern and fuel question, all the way back to Suarez, McMurray, Kyle Busch, any of these positions could be for the win if cars start running out of gas in the closing laps, Mike.
What a day for Kyle Busch, rallying back from adversity, and right now he is in position to work his way closer to the front. He's got to bypass Jamie McMurray. It's all on the table for Kyle Busch right now. Question is time and what's in the fuel cell on his side.
So they go through the inner loop once again, bouncing on the curves right on the back of Jamie McMurray. I think he might just be a little too loose there to make the pass. He may even be driving overly aggressive at this time. Jeff, as you know, sometimes at these road courses, you can get overly aggressive. You can overdrive that race car and start to burn up those rear tires. And even if those cars are saving fuel in front of you, it's hard to get by.
Yeah, that's right. And the thing that we don't know is who started this run saving fuel. Remember, you have to save fuel over a certain amount of laps. If you save it early in the run, then that means you can run harder later. Who started saving when? That will help determine who's going to be fast at the most important part of the race. With 10 to go, as you see the flagman showing.
And if some start to run out of gas late in this race, in these final 10 laps, you look down the order, the first driver, as Kyle Busch makes a move on the inside at one of the one, Jamie McMurray, the first driver in the list bag, man, without a win is Clint Boyer. Could a win fall into his lap late in this race?
He is banking for it, Lee. Times have been lean lately for Clint Boyer. He feels that this is one of the best shots he has to score the win. As he exits turn number 4, he's in position right now in the 4th spot.
That's right, Bagman. I got to speak to that 14 team this morning. They told me they were feeling the pressure. They know what's at stake here. They know making the playoffs and getting a win can be the difference between making or not making the playoffs this season. This is a tough call for that 14 car. Do you push the fuel issue and maybe have a problem where you run out and lose positions, or absolutely just go for that win, Jeff?
That is a tough call, Parker. Sometimes your team helps you. We listen along in the 14 radios.
No, it sounds like a broken record, bud. Just keep saving. Some of these guys in front of you are going to run out here. We just got to make sure we finish this race. You're doing good.
Priorities, Lee. You have to have priorities. Crew chief's job to remind the driver, do not chase the rabbit. Race our race. You heard him. We must finish. In their points position, they must finish.
All right, here we go. Things are getting interesting. The 24 of Chase Elliott, who was solidly in the top 10, he now pits. Kelly's there.
And that's the 5 of Casey Kane. Remember, they used a bit of strategy that played to their hands at Indy to pick up their win of the season. You see fuel only, Marty.
Fuel only for his teammate Chase Elliott leaving pit road. Just a couple of seconds is all they needed. Remember, this is the team without a win, unlike Casey Kane, so they're banking on points. Not worth it for Alan Gustafson to risk it here. Chase Elliott with fuel to make it to the end, guaranteed now.
So as you look, Lee, across the top of your screen, as we look at the running order, below the driver's name is the last pit lap. Why is that important? Because look at Keselowski. He was last on pit road at lap 49. He is well short compared to Truex, Blaney, and Boyer, who have more fuel in the tank. Their last lap was lap 53.
Hey, Lee, Boyer's spotter, Brett Griffin, asked, what's the priority if the 20 gets to us? The priority was told to him. He said it's get to the finish of this race, let the 20 go.
Remember, Clint Boyer is 17 out of the cut zone to make the playoffs. At the checkered flag today, only 4 races remain.
Battle for second. Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Blaney with lap traffic about to be a factor. Boris said is in front of these two, as right now it's a battle for second. What it could be a battle for lead, depending on when Keselowski has his challenges.
Blaney gets the inside and goes by the 78. You have to wonder, is the 78 just letting him go? He doesn't think the 21 can make it on fuel, maybe. Both these cars trying to stretch it, but the 21 going a little bit harder. The 78 obviously feeling like he has to go to the pace he's going right now to be able to make it to the end of this race. That's a tough position to be in, Jeff.
Right before the pass, when we saw the 21 car make, we heard a radio conversation to the 78.
Yeah, he's catching me. I got to go harder. That's in for just be as smart as you can.
Kel?
And the team just told Martin Truex Jr. to let the 21 by. They weren't really sure what his situation is, but they said let him by, let him run out. They've told Martin with 9 laps to go that he was still 1 lap short, so he is in max fuel-saving mode.
The fascinating part about the closing stanza of this race is which one of it is for the lead, for the win. Who's going to fall over these closing 7 laps?
Well, we have seen this before. People have always tried to stretch fuel at Watkins Glen, especially on this fresh pavement. Kevin Harvick did it years ago. Martin Truex trying to be the wily veteran. Let the 21 go. Kevin Harvick had the race in hand. This is the closing lap in 2015. He runs out of gas in the last 2 corners. Joey Logano comes by to take the win. Remember, this isn't like an oval. You can't coast. You have to slow down for those last 2 corners. So any sort of fuel situation will cost the 21 the win if he continues to push this hard.
You've got to think, you've got to feel, Jeff, that it's got this air about it, doesn't it?
Oh, it 100% has it about it. You see Clint Boyer not giving any fight at all to Kyle Busch. Remember, we talked about it over and over and over. Clint Boyer cannot afford to not finish this race. But how about Ryan Blaney? He's gotten by Truex Jr., but still pushing. Ryan Blaney needs to slow down. He needs to only go as fast as he needs to go to stay in front of the 78. He's in fuel-saving mode as well. Save some fuel right here. Marty.
Hey, and Jeff, when you hear the radio with Kyle Busch and his race team, they said you have to come this time. So the 18's going to come to pit road. Meanwhile, on the front end of this run, Ryan Blaney saved then. And they told him, Jerry Boland said, listen, if you can get past the 78, do it. Once you do that, then save, because we are positive the 2 cannot make it. So Ryan Blaney might have put himself in a position to get a road course win right here.
Putting himself into effectively the lead right now. We know the 2 car most likely cannot make it. He got by the 78. He's been told he can hopefully make it on fuel. And what a position for Ryan Blaney to be in right now. Gapping on the 78 with the 18 coming. We also don't think he can make it. So the 21 is putting that distance between him and the other cars, allowing him to put himself in a position where he could save fuel in those last couple laps if he has to.
Yeah, we've seen Truex Jr. how much he's backed up. He slowed down as much as 3 seconds a lap trying to save enough fuel. The question is, can he save enough to use that speed his car has to run Blaney down with a few laps left? I'm really surprised Blaney's not slowing his lap time down. He only needs to lead this race by 1 car length. Doesn't have to have 30 car lengths.
And Jeff, remember initially we said that the 2 car, Brad Keselowski, you see Kyle Busch coming to pit road for a splash and go to have Sunoco fuel to make it to the end. He would be about 6 laps short. They told him on the radio a moment ago, listen, don't push. He's in the lead, obviously. They pitted way back on lap 49. That would be heroic if they could make it from there. And in fact, in the initial part of this run, Paul Wolfe was saying, there's no way we can make it, so let's just go as hard as we can go. Kyle Busch with that final splash of fuel. Can the 2 make it all the way? I don't know how they would be able to do it, but so far, no sign they're coming to pit road.
I agree. I don't think the 2 can make it. If he goes 41 laps, I'll be shocked. Look at all the cars we've seen hit pit road for fuel that pitted 4 laps after. I have to go back way behind the 2 to the 21 of Ryan Blaney. We are watching a 180-mile-an-hour game of cat and mouse. How fast do I want to go? How fast are you going to make me go? I think the 21 is stretching his lead a little bit too far over the 78. I think Martin Truex Jr. is doing a wonderful job of saving fuel, but it's going to take 4 more laps to get to the answer.
And that's it. Heightening the drama is just 4 more laps remaining here at Watkins Glen. How is this one? The I Love the Glen, I Love New York 355 at the Glen going to play out. Can this man do it? With you heard Jeff Burton say, Bagman, he's been saving as much as 3, slowing down up to 3 seconds a lap, trying to nurse it home.
And he's making the assumption that Keselowski is going to run out of fuel in the 2. He's also going to make the assumption that Ryan Blaney is going to run out in the 21. To pit road and Marty.
And guys, Jamie McMurray leaving with that splash of Sunoco fuel to make it to the end. I am in the 2 pit, and the tension is palpable. Paul Wolfe literally standing on top of the pit box, talking to his guys. The fueler has his hand on the fuel tank. So far, no sign that he might come to pit road, but he's approaching the entrance to pit road, so this might be the 2 car coming down pit road right now to get some fuel.
I don't believe the 2 car can make it at all. If Ryan Blaney is able to finish this race off and make it to the end, that would be the Wood Brothers' 100th win as we see Keselowski pit.
So there's 1 out. Take the 2 out of the equation. Ryan Blaney will be elevated to the lead from this move. And Blaney crosses the start-finish line with 3 laps to go. Has he pushed too hard, or has he saved enough? That's the question will be answered over the next 2 3/4 laps, Mike.
Ryan Blaney enters turn number 2. He would give his kingdom for a thimble full of fuel right now through turn number 3, trying to do everything he can to nurse that Ford back home for the Wood Brothers. He's jiggling the car back and forth just a tad as he's cleared turn number 4, well in command of this race.
And you heard him, guys. Ran out. Ryan Blaney out of fuel as he goes down the backstretch, Parker.
I was just going to say, it looked like he was going slow, coasting almost right now. As I listened to him go by, he's got nothing there. He's trying to put it down a gear. The 21 car is definitely out. He's going to try and nurse it back to the pit, shaking it back and forth to get fuel to that pickup, Jeff.
Even though he's having that trouble, he's still driving away from Martin Truex Jr. That tells you how slow Truex is going. Behind him, Matt Kenseth appears to be gaining ground on Martin Truex Jr. The 21 car came by me at full song. He was running strong when he went through turn 6. Let's see if he pits right here. Yes, he's going to pit.
Well, as the 21 comes to pit road, 3 laps he was short. That's 7 miles. So now you have Martin Truex Jr. will assume the lead. Has he saved enough? Or is it the veteran, Matt Kenseth, the rookie, Daniel Suarez? How about Denny Hamlin starting from the rear? And right behind him, Clint Bowyer. What a win it would be for Clint Bowyer.
we put some drivers in the spotlight at the top of the broadcast, and they were Matt Kenseth, they were Clint Boyer, talking about making it to the playoffs after just 4 more. And I tell you what else we can't forget. We cannot forget about the 2 of Brad Keselowski, who has pitted. He's come back out. Enough time. Where's he going to play out in the mix with plenty of fuel? Keep your eye out at the back of the pack. Where is he from the leader? He's only 6.3 seconds back, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. He came, he took fuel, and he's committed to it, and now he's running all the way back up inside the top 5. Oh, now we hear the 2 has a penalty for driving through pit boxes. That basically has eliminated the 2. You talk about mistakes. You don't know how it's going to fall. The 2 has eliminated himself, but here we're coming to the white flag. The 78 has the lead. The 20 of Matt Kenseth, though, is closing in quickly, Lee.
This is huge. Matt Kenseth in the 20. A win, and he's in. He will not be at Joe Gibbs Racing next year. Can he make the playoffs in his final season? One lap to go, sponsored by Credit One Bank. This is it. It's coming down to Martin Truex and Matt Kenseth.
For the final time, downhill to start the ultimate uphill run through the S's. It's Truex and Kenseth. Kenseth desperately needs this win to make the playoffs. He's been waiting for this moment all year long. The question is, can he get there? Truex by 10 car lengths for the final time to the back straightaway.
Bagman Martin Truex Jr. just did the slowest lap of this run, almost 4 seconds off one of his fast laps. He gets in the grass and makes a little mistake there in the inner loop. That's going to allow Matt Kenseth to gain. This is where you have to push. As you come off the carousel, you've got to give it everything you've got. If this car has enough fuel, it will make it from here, Jeff.
Kenseth can see the ticket to the playoffs right in front of him. He's praying Martin Truex Jr. runs out of fuel as he approaches turn 6. Only 2 corners left to go.
Matt Kenseth, can he do it? Truex locks up into turn 6. 1 corner left. The difference may be between making the playoffs and not. The guy who leads the points, the guy who needs the win, it's not going to happen. Martin Truex Jr. will win at the Glen, and he's running out of fuel, but he makes it. Oh, what a thriller. Truex does it. He's won at Sonoma, and now he's won at the Glen. And he was the smartest in the fuel game. So close for Matt Kenseth. Wow. Martin Truex Jr., his 4th Monster Energy Cup Series win in 2017 and first at the Glen. How about that one, Stevie?
I thought he had won it, and then I thought he had run out of gas off turn 7. You called it. He started shaking the back of the car. I thought that perhaps he had run out off the final corner, but he ends up saving enough fuel. A great job of communication between driver Martin Truex Jr. and crew chief Cole Pern. He pulled over. We showed it. He let Brad Keselowski go. He let the 21 of Ryan Blaney go. He stuck to their game plan, which is easier said than done as you're giving up the lead of a race. And now this is going to be one of the quietest, slowest victory laps, as it looks like the 78 perhaps has finally run out of fuel.
And this enormous crowd appreciating the efforts of Martin Truex Jr. This moment is presented by Sunoco, fueling victories all season long. Wow. The question always gets thrown out there, who's going to play the game the smartest?
And you have to play the game. We looked at one point up, you mentioned, with just a handful of laps to go. Brad Keselowski had pitted and was coming, had a pit penalty, took him out of it. Martin Truex Jr. played 180-mile-an-hour game of cat and mouse as good as anyone we've seen. He pushed when needed, he coasted when needed, and in the end, he only needed just a little bit of fuel to win over Matt Kenseth by 0.4 of a second, just a few car lengths.
Furniture Row crew on the wall.
Look, he does have a little bit of fuel left.
Enough for a little burnout. His girlfriend Sherry is there.
So many things go into these wins. It's not just speed, it's teamwork, communication. It's a great game plan. It's sticking to the game plan. Martin Truex Jr. in the 78, as you mentioned, 4 wins. They have found multiple ways to do donuts at the end of a race.
And we come back to that statement from Cole Pern, crew chief, when they got knocked out with engine failure in Sonoma. Hey, we were so strong. Let's get a new engine in it, and let's do the next road course. Well, they've done it, and they've won it. I have to say at the same time, Steve, you spare a thought for Matt Kenseth. 0.4 of a second. Who knows how the remaining 4 races will play out. Is that going to be the difference that denies him a playoff berth? We'll see. It's what's going to make the next 4 events so compelling. But today is all about Martin Truex Jr. at the Glen, joining names like Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick, Mark Martin, even our own Kyle Petty, Ricky Rudd, to have won this legendary road course race in Monster Energy Cup Series competition. Kelly.
And it turns out he had more than enough fuel to get the job done on those closing laps. Martin Truex Jr. saying, I hate these fuel mileage races. And so then you could hear the elation when one of them finally panned out for him. He had to make a charge, he had to save fuel. Martin, it came down to fuel savings there. And finally, one falls in your favor.
I can't believe that. Man, that's so stressful to just let guys go by for the lead. I've never had to do that before, but I've got so much trust in Cole. He was telling me what to do, and he knew based on our lap times and how fast we were going what we needed to do. So just hats off to him, this whole team. I mean, I've wanted to win here a long, long time. This is a special place. I think back in the 90s watching my dad run here, and coming here as a kid and spending time in the garage, just walking around and wishing someday to race here, let alone win. So this is a big one for our team. This is a big one for Cole. He had a tough week, lost his best friend, and really thinking about his family, and just proud of Cole and his perseverance and everything he does for this team. And Barney and everybody at home, thank you guys so much for letting me drive these things.
Martin, a sold-out crowd here in Watkins Glen. You got fans on either side of you. What do you think getting to victory lane for the first time?
I'm kind of speechless, really. I mean, I really didn't think it was going to play out there, so I'm a little bit dumbfounded here, but lost for words. But super excited, and like I said, this is just an awesome racetrack, and you want to win at road courses. Now we've got one at each of them. That's pretty awesome, and I'm just so proud of that.
Congratulations. We'll see you in victory lane.
Thank you.
And especially being in the tri-state area, because Martin hails from New Jersey. His previous best was 3rd. Martin Truex is now a Glen winner.
Bring it back.
Well, we're giggling here in the booth, folks, because what was all the fuss about low fuel? Martin Truex Jr. has just done one of the best straight-line burnouts you could ever see. There's plenty of fuel in that thing, Steve.
There was, and there was something he said right there in the interview with Kelly Stavros that really struck me. As you see, he lights the rear tires up, gives this sold-out crowd a show. He said, the toughest thing I've ever had to do is to give up the lead on purpose, let people go, but I trusted in Cole. I think that's a lot more than people want to weigh into. This 78 team is a difficult team to race against because the communication, the trust, the belief from on top of the pit box to behind the driver's seat, it is as strong a union as anyone in the garage area. They proved it again with this very, I'm going to call it creative win. They didn't win. They had a fast car, but they won with a great plan.
He knows what this drive's like in the drive to victory lane, but first time, of course, here at the Glen, 4th win on the season. Think about those playoff points too. He just keeps racking them up.
Man, he has taken this system and he has found a way. He has 34 playoff points. That is truly unreal.
And the next closest is Jimmy Johnson with 16 playoff points. So this has been a very productive season, to say the least, for Martin Truex Jr. Here's Chris Devoda.
Lee Diffie, as Martin Truex Jr. stands on a car in the place, the track where he grew up about 306 miles away, hugged by his crew chief, Cole Pern. And as they hug, I'm going to let his longtime girlfriend, Sherry Pollux, congratulate him.
Yeah, good luck, Charms back.
It was awesome. Yeah, my first race back. It's pretty cool. We've had a rough couple weeks, so it's pretty awesome.
No question, the emotion is there. Yep. Let's go ahead, Martin. This is one you've been waiting for. Your family. You talked about Cole and the friendships, the tough week that you guys have had. How do you even put this one into words?
I'm a little bit lost for words at the moment, just because I've been thinking about this one a long time, all weekend, all day, and then at the end there, just man, it's so hard to let guys pass you for the lead, and you just got to listen to your crew chief. And luckily for me, I've got the best one in the business, and I just believe in him so much, and what he tells me, I just do what he says, and it always seems to work out. So just got to thank him, and it's been a tough week, as I said, for him, thinking about his buddy's parents there and family, and just got to say thanks to Barney and Furniture Row and Denver Mattress and everybody back in Denver, all the guys at the shop and TRD, and everybody in Costa Mesa for incredible engines, and obviously the fuel mileage is pretty good too. But Best Pro Tracker, Auto Owners 5-Hour, Wix, Garmin, Beechcraft, Cessna, everybody that helps us. This is a dream come true team. This is man, I guess it's our time, but just can't say enough about all these guys and what they allowed me to do. It's having the time of my life. That's all I can say.
Time of your life. You said as a little boy your dad would bring you here. You'd watch him race. Would that little boy be pretty surprised at what you guys have been able to do this year?
Yeah, that little boy would be pretty shocked. He was a little quieter than I am even, and just walked around the garage just dreaming one day of racing at places like this, and watched my heroes, going around here, and some of my heroes were, Busch North cars. For me back then, that was a big deal. So we've been coming here a long time, us Truexes, and we finally got us one.
Sherry, I know when you're down there, you're documenting with your camera, kind of taking all the moments in. What are you thinking, too, knowing how badly he's wanted one here?
Yeah, he's wanted to win here for a long time, and he's come some close. I struggle between missing the moment and getting it on camera, I always tell him to live in the moment, put our phones down, but it's hard to miss that moment and not get it on camera. So I'm so happy that I was here. It's my first weekend back, and it was a great present. It was awesome.
Absolutely amazing. I know you're going to go back and watch some of that too, and I know you and I say this to each other all the time, be present, and you guys are present right now at Victory Lane at Watkins Glen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
It's a lovely gift for Sherry as well. She missed Kentucky because she was in hospital. Wonderful moment for a lovely couple. Steve, this season has championship feel all about it for Martin Truex. And just take a look at this. Look, the numbers tell the story.
It really does. 4 wins, so many top 10 finishes, but I really believe, and you mentioned it, the bottom line there, playoff points, that's the difference. That's what's different this year, is this effort, this continued domination through the year. 4 wins, continues to rack up stage wins. He will carry that performance into the playoffs. I think that's what NASCAR had in mind when they created this system. Let's reward someone who performs all year long. Martin Truex Jr. is going to get that reward when the series leaves Richmond and the playoff begins.
So on the flip side of that, Dave Burns, on the celebration, 0.4 of a second was all there was between Martin Truex Jr. and Matt Kenseth.
Well, Matt Kenseth went from conserve to fight there at the end. Did you think you might have a chance to get him?
You never know. I mean, Martin had the fastest car today, so I mean, you know, they really did deserve the win and got it. But it's tough when you're that close to not get it. He even missed turn 6 for me and opened the door wide open. I still couldn't get there, so I got a good run off of 6, and I couldn't get into 7 as deep as he did, so I couldn't even get to him to try to get a groove on him. But he was just managing his gap as well, and as soon as he knew we could go, then he just went too. So overall, it was a good day for us, good finish. You hate to be that close and not get it, but it was a good finish.
And other than fuel, did you have to conserve the car at all today? There were brake issues early on. Heard you mention just a couple.
I saved brakes a little bit earlier in the race, and in the last run, really, I tried to save a lot early. It's hard for me to know how good we really are, except for what Jason tells me. And some of them other guys ran out close then. But I really saved a lot early in that run. Some people got bottled up in traffic behind me, so I tried to start saving a little, you know, for a lot of laps. I felt pretty good about where we were at. I felt like we were going to be better in the 78 on fuel, but we probably both have a little excess.
Runner-up today for Matt.
Yeah, tough to swallow that one when there was such a small margin in it. Hey, coming up after the checkered flag here on NBCSN, continued coverage from the Glen post-race show, followed by NASCAR Victory Lap. And hey, it's 7:30. You don't want to miss this. Don't go anywhere, because Racing Roots with Rutledge, with Kyle, and Clint Boyer is the star of the show. We've seen little snippets of it over the weekend. It is fantastic. Hey, and speaking of the weekend, this is the first time here on NBCSN that we've brought the multi-vantage point coverage, and we've had MRN and SiriusXM satellite radios Mike Bagley, Parker Kligerman, and Jeff Burton out on various locations. Jeff's been in his tower of power with the Flamingos all weekend long. Bagman, as usual, I want to start with you and just everything. How have you enjoyed this different way? You know, we've been calling it a hybrid coverage, a little bit of TV, a little bit of radio. Have you enjoyed it, and what did you take away from that race?
I have had a blast hanging out with you guys this weekend. Yesterday in the Xfinity Series race, and of course today in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race. My takeaways from today: the dominance of Toyota. They have power. They have great race cars. Another takeaway: Martin Truex Jr. and Furniture Row Racing. They are showing the most power of any Toyota team right now. It used to be we called Furniture Row Racing the little engine that could. Now they're the race team that everybody wants to be. In my opinion, they already have a seat at the championship Ford table in Miami when we close the season down. Great weekend, and a fantastic weekend for that team from Denver, Colorado.
Bagman, I'd have to agree with you, and I hope the fans out there enjoyed what they saw here on this broadcast, because I can tell you that was the most intense experience I've ever had outside of a race car. It was so much fun to be down here in the inner loop and watch these drivers attack the curves and attack the race throughout the entire race, and it reinforced what I love about stock cars on road courses. It's that these stock cars are big, they're heavy, they've got a lot of horsepower, and therefore the drivers attack the racetrack. They jump the curves, they go through the grass. They really don't care about track limits at all. It's awesome to watch. The drivers put on a great show through the inner loop here throughout the entire race. I enjoyed it. It was amazing to view down here and be able to sometimes see who was better in certain areas than others. I had a lot of fun, and Jeff, I'd say this was one of the coolest experiences I've had in a while.
Oh, this was a lot of fun. You know, when you come to a race and you get to hear, feel, smell race cars going around the racetrack, it's a different experience. So being right here in turn 6 reminded me of all that. It was a lot of fun. But then I put myself in those drivers' shoes. How do I save fuel? Have I saved enough fuel? And then when the race is over, I've been in Matt Kenseth's position. Did I run hard enough? Was there some left in the fuel tank that I could have run harder and gotten that win? Difficult spot for Matt Kenseth to be in. If you run too hard and you run out, your championship might be over. If you catch Martin Truex and you pass him and you get in there by winning, you may win a championship. What a horrible position to be in, not having a fuel gauge in the car, not having that information. All it is experience and information from your team as you try to save that fuel mileage. So although it's not side-by-side battle, that intensity in the race car is huge, and we saw some guys do it right and some guys do it wrong.
Well, it was something new. It was something different, both on the Xfinity Series and here on the Monster Energy Cup Series. Guys, terrific job. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I know, hey, Jeff, I know yesterday was a little bit cool. Or was it cold?
Today was hot. Today was good. My flamingos felt good. It's a good day up here.
And Bagman, we'll hear you every day on SiriusXM, NASCAR Channel 90. This week with NBC on Sirius, you've got Rutledge Wood. Enjoy that, and thanks so much for being part of the family, mate.
Thank you. Appreciate it. 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. Listen for Rutledge.
Mike, Parker, and Jeff, great job. Thanks so much.
And Lee, thank you.
Hey,
I appreciate you coming to join me. We have Rick Allen across the pond covering track and field. I appreciate you coming and filling in. I really enjoyed the day up here in the booth.
And I'm going to see you next weekend. And speaking of next Sunday, the Monster Energy Cup Series will be at Michigan International Speedway. Race coverage from the 2 Mile High speed track in the Irish Hills begins at 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on NBCSN. On behalf of all of the guys here in the broadcast side of things, thanks so much for being with us here at the Glen. We've got Kyle Petty, we've got Dale Jarrett, and we've got Chris Devoda standing by for post-race coverage.